You are the Chief Operations Officer.
Yes, of Legal Aid.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Namasisi. So, Committee Secretary, you are saying the South African National Defence Force only acknowledged the receipt of our communication.
That's correct.
Okay. Members, I think that's the response that relates to the South African National Defence Force, and it's quite concerning because you'll remember that in our March 19 meeting, part of what would have been raised by the Foundation for Human Rights are issues relating to legal fees, pertaining particularly to SAPS and the South African National Defence Force. So it's quite concerning if we don't have any delegation from the South African National Defence Force. But maybe we'll pave a way forward on that matter later. Is the Foundation for Human Rights in attendance?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we are. I'm Zaid Kimi, the Executive Director of the Foundation for Human Rights, and my colleague Kazia Zunjuk and Clifford Marion are also in attendance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Syke. Okay, let's start with the Department of Justice to make its presentation. Then we'll take the National Prosecuting Authority. Then we'll take SAPS. We'll take legal aid. Then on interaction, at the end, after members will accommodate the foundation if there are issues they want to raise with the departments. We'll attend to the South African National Defence Force absence in this meeting. DG, I suppose you are leading the presentation on behalf of the department.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning to you and good morning to the honorable members and the Deputy Minister for Police, Honorable Polibushielo, and all the colleagues who are in the platform, including the colleagues from the Foundation for Human Rights. Indeed, Chair, I want to take this opportunity to thank you and the members of the committee for giving us the opportunity together with our colleagues to come here and give an update and account on the implementation of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's recommendations. We have submitted a presentation which will take the members of the committee through. It's not that long, and different colleagues will cover some different parts of the presentation. The Deputy Director General for Constitutional Development will lead the main presentation. In the presentation, there will be a part that deals with what we call the Kalata matter, the matter that is currently in court, as well as the establishment of the Commission of Inquiry by the President. I'll request my colleagues Stephen and Tsietsi to deal with that part. And I think that will then give us a fuller picture of where we are in terms of the responsibility that we have. With your permission, Chair, I would like to introduce the Deputy Director General for Constitutional Development, Advocate Sherin Said, who will then take us through the presentation. DDG?
Good morning, Chairperson, honorable members, ministers in attendance, the DGs, colleagues, and Foundation for Human Rights. My name is Sherin Said. I'm going to be assisted by Ms. Denaline Fransman and Ms. Lufuno Mbadi. We have submitted a presentation, as was mentioned, which will be flighted in a few seconds. And I just also wanted to locate the work of the TRC unit that this branch handles. And to commence, I'd like to indicate and make reference to the preamble of the Constitution, which is where and how we couch the work, especially of the TRC unit within the context of social justice, promotion of equality and tolerance, as well as constitutional and human rights literacy. And I refer to the preamble, which guides our work, which says, and I just refer to excerpts, which is recognizing the injustices of the past, honor those who suffered for justice and freedom in our land. And then it goes on to say, heal the divisions of the past and establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights. With that said, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members of the committee, I'd like to locate the work of the TRC unit, and you would know in June 2003, Parliament approved, which is how we get the mandate on the TRC unit, to adopt the following forms of reparations to TRC identified victims, and that definition becomes very significant a little later in the presentation. Now, in terms of these reparations, which is how and what guides the work of the TRC unit, there were final once-off reparations in the form of a grant of 30,000 Rand per TRC identified victims, symbols and monuments, which would include exhumation, reburials, and symbolic burials of deceased victims, community rehabilitation, especially measures intended to rehabilitate communities that suffered intense acts of violence, medical benefits, and other forms of social assistance, which included, in our case, education and housing. Now, I'm told that the host has disabled the ability to put up the presentation. So we're trying to communicate with them. So you see the figures if you don't have a copy of it in front of you. Now, under the beneficiaries, there's a series of information and details where, as an example, under the individual grants, we've made 17,432 payments victims who were paid out to the tune of 53 million. Under basic education, those who were determined as eligible were approximately 21,676 persons. Similar for higher education, 21,676 as well. And you may know that with the exhumations, there are a total of 477 mortal remains that would have to be reburied. So far, we've managed to do 184, and you'll see later on in the presentation.
Please order you.
I'm sorry.
Please hold on, DDG. Honorable
Okay. Yes, can we please, greetings to everyone. Can we get this presentation flighted here on the screen? You know, it's much better when you speak to something that you can see, more especially when you are speaking to numbers. We have this thing with us, but it's better when he's speaking. We don't have to go looking for our papers. We just have to look at the screen. Thank you.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Honorable Mhlala. Yeah, there it is on the screen. Proceed, DDG.
Thank you. Yes, I certainly agree. It's much better now. So it would also save me from going through all of the figures as I was indicating the number of burials that have taken place. I won't go into, because we'll pick up some of the points in detail later, but I won't go into all of the details on the reburials, except to say that you would know we started last year through the major project, including the Missing Persons Task Team, together with the DSAC-led process to repatriate mortal remains from Zambia and Zimbabwe the first of which arrived sometime in September last year, and some of the reburials have taken place. If you look at slide 6, I'm giving the slide numbers so the person moving the presentation would know to. You will see the 3 reburials that will take place now in May, in July and September. If the slides could change to slide 6, please. So some of the, I just wanted to.
Sorry, DDG.
It seems like the slides are not
Committee
moving.
Secretary, who's moving the slides?
Chair, let me check, but it is somebody from the department, not me.
Okay, DDG, who's moving the slides?
It's Elise Dutoy. I think the challenge is the we're fluctuating between what is the word? It's being stopped from your side. It needs to be abled so that we are able that she can move the slides. I think it's going back and forth.
Elise, can you go to slide 6? Slide 6.
Okay, now it seems like
Proceed, DDG.
Sorry for that. I think it's also the connectivity on our side. Sorry for that. So here's the three reburial dates. Of course, all are welcome to that. That will take place during the year.
Sorry to disturb, Chair.
GM?
Sorry.
Is it possible?
Please hold on.
Is it possible to have this presentation in a slide mode? Thank you.
In a slide mode. DDG?
Yes, I've asked her to put it in slideshow. Yes.
Okay, thanks, dear.
There seems to be a delay from our side, Chairperson.
Is it a connectivity-related problem?
Yeah, there's a delay from our side, so we're hearing you a few seconds later, and I think the same with on your side. Technology looks great when it works.
Chair?
Yes, Committee Secretary.
Yes, can I maybe do it from this side?
Yeah.
Maybe my connectivity is better.
Yeah, let's do it on your side. Please flight it on your side, Mr. Raman. Yeah.
Excellent.
Scroll up. Go to slide 6.
I'm on slide 6, Chair.
Sure. Thank you very much. DDG, proceed.
Thank you very much. So the bulk of as I said, the reburials will take place this year. Now, if I go to some of the challenges experienced in terms of implementing the approved recommendations, much of with the education, rehabilitation, and the once-off, if we move to the next slide, please, we'll see that we had a bit of difficulty, and during, I think it was last year in September when we were before this committee, we realized that there hadn't been the implementation of the regulations on health and housing, as well as community rehabilitation. And what we then identified from following that, and also internal engagement inside of the department, that we would have to ensure that these, given that it took a period of time, we'd have to finalize these regulations within a very quick period of time so that they come into effect. And if you will go to slide 15 and slide 14, you will see that we have now managed to move much quicker with finalizing both the housing assistance regulations, which we hope by the end of this 5-year period that we've put in place during the strategic plan, and we're hoping that we would do so much quicker. The intention is by the end of this year, but of course, it may be much later. The housing assistance regulations will be, we hope to finalize that. And then the one for medical benefits, which is, I just see that the numbers on the slides are not quite correlating. So the timeframes for finalization of regulations on medical benefits, we hope to have it finalized by early 2026. Unfortunately, part of the challenges have been, especially with housing and medical benefits, is the dependencies between other departments, amongst other departments. So it went back and forth for a period of time. With the community rehabilitation regulations, we've also now concluded what is an internal requirement, which is the socioeconomic impact assessment reports, and they've now been submitted, and we hope by the end of this year we'd also have achieved that particular regulation, and that would have been finalized. I would also want to now just go through some of the other challenges that we had, and we've had especially in terms of questions that came up in the last hearing, and that was in early February, which is the unfinished business and discussions with the Coalition for Transitional Justice, which is also part of the unfinished business, as we all call it, which then dealt with two aspects. One with the definition, which I'd alluded to earlier, the definition of the TRC identified victims, and one of the calls by the coalition is that we, and that's on page, I think it's 4, with regard to the coalition, is that they wanted the definition to be revised, and their perspective is that this is a policy decision, not a legal one. We still, as we've indicated to the coalition as well, have to meet as the legal teams to define and to also appreciate and narrow the issues between ourselves before we can make any conclusions, because there are more significant legal as well as financial requirements for us to make any decision on our own, because it also requires us to go back to Parliament. We've identified some of the risks and consequences, which we won't discuss in that much detail here. I'd just like to go to the more recent case, which is the Kalata. My colleagues from the NPA will discuss most of the other aspects on prosecutions, but under the Kalata matter, which is, as you all may know, is under a mediation at the moment. But from the side of the TRC unit, what we can raise is that of the 22 applicants, 11 of the applicants were identified as TRC victims. Of these victims, they've received various forms of financial assistance. The total spent on the Kalata matter to date is 575,000 rands approximately, and with some of the identified victims' dependents have either received.
DDG?
Yes.
DDG? Which slide are you in now?
On slide 16.
Yeah, you
It's
must tell
Kalata.
you must indicate,
Yes,
you
sorry.
must indicate to the person who's scrolling so that they know to go to the following slide, because you are leaving them behind now.
I apologize.
Thank you, DDG. Proceed.
So if you would go to the slide before, please, one slide before this, and you will see the, in fact, there's a summary on slide 14, please. Should have the summary of this, but we could still use this. Yeah, that's fine. So you will see the numbers here, which total the overall paid, and those identified victims who were 11 in number, who either got reparations through individual grants, reburials, and education assistance. Of course, the rest of it is still under mediation, so that would we would not get into more discussions in that regard. So from the TRC unit, this is the progress that has been made, and summarizing from the previous session with this honorable committee members, as well as the EU Foundation. The main aspect from our sides was the delays in the regulation, and I want to submit that the timeline that we've put in place is meant to conclude some by the end of this year, and the rest by next year, early next year, and then also to indicate the kinds of reparations that have been made. What we generally experience, and this is the slide that's flighted at the moment, is just the names of those persons who were identified and have received some sort of reparation. But what we've identified is there's still a misunderstanding of the work of the TRC, which is really confined to the regulations. We do a series of roadshows across the country on an annual basis, and every opportunity that we get for those persons who may not have made any claims, provided they were TRC identified victims, we use the opportunities through roadshows, through our engagements on radio stations and television, and any other activity that we have in the department, so that we can ensure all those who were entitled and eligible to apply for these grants are informed and may be able to secure those grants. With that said, Chairperson, that is our presentation from the department's perspective. I'll hand back to DG.
Thank you very much, DDG. I'll ask Stephen Ralikwa if he could just deal with that part of the Kalata matter briefly, without the details of the matter.
Thank you, DG. Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members and colleagues. Insofar as our side is concerned of the Kalata matter, Chairperson, there is currently a matter by the applicants, Kalata and others, against the President and the Minister of Justice and other respondents, wherein they seek specific relief. But the biggest relief that they seek, quite apart from the financial compensation, is the establishment of a commission of inquiry to inquire into factors or reasons and to hold whoever the commission in the end will hold liable for blocking, as the applicants allege, of the prosecutions insofar as the TRC recommendations are concerned. So where we are now is that the case is still pending before the Pretoria High Court under case management by DJP Ledwaba, but the parties have so far reached agreement on the establishment of a commission of inquiry, the terms of reference of which are still to be finalized and signed off by the President and gazetted in due course once the President has signed off on those. So at this point in time, that's where the matter is. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. DG, is the department done now?
It is done, but I'm not sure whether we should bring the colleagues from the legal aid to just deal with the inquest, the credo for inquest.
We'll take them after SAPS.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Chair. I think we're done on our part.
Thank you, DG and the team. NPA.
Thank you, Chair. So if we could please have the presentation flighted. Florencia, I think you are flighting it, if we could get that on. If we could have it in slideshow, is this the slideshow view? Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you very much. Good morning once again, Chair, Honorable members. The NPA welcomes this opportunity to share with the committee progress we have made in dealing with TRC matters. I just want to contextualize the presentation. Committee members will recall that the NPA appeared before the committee on the 17th of September last year and gave the committee a full and detailed presentation on the work of the TRC matters. Thereafter, it was in February of this year that the acting Deputy National Director of Public Prosecutions appeared before yourselves together with Advocate Singh when the FHR appeared. And we, after that, provided a detailed report to Parliament on the FHR presentation. And our understanding of today's presentation is that we are here to deal with issues relating to the matters that the FHR has raised. And we have, in as much as we have submitted a detailed report, we will highlight some of the key issues relating to that. But we thought that before we do that, I'll just make a few introductory remarks to better contextualize the presentation and the work that we've done so far, and the approach that we've adopted, not just in relation to the FHR matters. Our understanding is that the FHR is dealing with 24 matters, but there's a whole lot more matters that the NPA, together with the DPCI, are dealing with in terms of prosecutions and inquests. So if we can move to slide 3, just to briefly say that, we acknowledge that our country's history is sadly besmirched with unspeakable acts of gross human rights violations, which were committed under this veil of secrecy. And we have to deal with this history in line with the rule of law. We know how important it is to ensure that we bring some level of closure to the families, which is why we have adopted, not just with TRC matters, but also with all our cases, a victim-centered approach. In order to demonstrate the NPA's commitment, we have done a number of things. And so we have a multi-pronged approach. Firstly, it's of course prosecutions, working very closely with the DPCI, who does the investigations, to ensure accountability. All decisions to prosecute are taken having a very, very detailed understanding and informed by the evidence that's obtained. And there's various challenges which Advocate Singh will deal with later in her presentation. The second aspect is, of course, inquests, where there is insufficient evidence to take a decision to prosecute. We have been opening a number of requesting that the minister reopen a number of inquests. And we will also give you details on these matters in the presentation. And finally, you heard our colleague from the department, DDG Saeed, talk about the repatriation of remains. The Missing Persons Task Team in the NPA is doing a lot of extremely good work in this regard to help the families receive some level of closure in these matters. If we're on slide 4 now, in the past few years, we have prioritized TRC matters, and we have given detailed presentation on this, so I won't dwell too much on it. But firstly, by enhancing internal capacity, which was very, very small when I took office. And we've, as I said, reopened many of the priority cases to reinvestigate or to continue investigations by the DPCI, and you'll hear them talk about this, no doubt. We've shared with the committee since 2021 the fact that we have established a TRC component within the NPA to prioritize and to drive TRC matters, working, of course, with the DPCI. A key aspect has been capacitating, and we do have now a permanent dedicated capacity. We had prosecutors on contract, and we have now been able to convert those into permanent posts. The component adopts really a strict hands-on approach to make sure that we are on track with action plans, implementation, and ensuring that we monitor the turnaround times as closely as possible. We are working within the divisions, that's the DPPs, many of them present on this platform today. There are 194 matters under investigations. 35 of these decisions have been taken not to proceed, and 159 cases are in hand. 2 convictions secured, 7 criminal cases are on the High Court roll, including the COSAS 4 matter, where there were historic finding that was made with regard to the charges of crimes against humanity. And I must, on this point, acknowledge the work that's been done by the Foundation in really assisting and supporting with regard to these charges. With regard to the matter of Mr. Malane, there's a Section 77(3) inquiry that is we hope will be concluded this week. If we're on slide 5 now, 6 inquests have been concluded where original findings were reversed by the inquest court now after evidence was led in these matters. There are some of the high-profile inquest matters, is that of Chief Albert Lutuli, currently being heard at the Pietermaritzburg High Court. We expect to conclude the evidence, leading the evidence by 20th of June 2025. The inquest of Mr. Griffiths Mthenge, which matter will be heard in the Pietermaritzburg High Court on the 17th of June this year. The Highgate Hotel massacre, where further evidence will be led between 11th to 15th August this year, and arguments will be heard on the 1st to the 5th of September. Many other formal inquests will be held in the matters of the North Crest 5, Mr. Moss Morudi, Mr. Keshla Nkuta in Mpumalanga, amongst others. Reopened inquests, that of Mr. Mabelane in Johannesburg and Mr. Boyki Slapi in the Northwest, will be underway shortly. Over and above dealing with prosecutions and inquests, the third prong of our multi-pronged approach to dealing with TRC matters is that of the missing persons task team in the NPA, which deals with the identification and return of remains. They've made significant strides in tracing and locating and returning the remains of many activists and victims who died or disappeared in political circumstances between 1960 and 1994. To date, the missing persons task team in the NPA has recovered the remains of 184 persons inside of South Africa. As part of its work, it also conducts symbolic reburials of victims whose remains cannot be located as part of community and symbolic reparations recommended by the TRC. And you heard DDG Saeed also talk about this, because Department of Justice also plays an important role in this process. The Missing Persons Task Team also runs a series of other key projects, including the Gallows Exhumation Projects, which ensures that the remains of political prisoners who were hanged are recovered and handed over to families with dignity. This project is almost complete. As recently as on Saturday, the 3rd of May, 2025, the remains of Mr. Moloise, and Mr. Mgomezulu, which had been traced and exhumed by the Missing Persons Task Team as part of this gallows exhumation project, were handed over to the families at an official ceremony which was hosted by the Minister of Justice in Soweto, and were thereafter buried in Heroes Acre in the West Park Cemetery. The Exile Repatriation Project is an interdepartmental project, including the NPA's Missing Persons Task Team, and it involves the tracing, exhumation, and repatriation of over 1,000 exiles from a range of political organizations as part of the TRC recommendations for community reparations. The first group of the first 42 bodies of exiles were exhumed and repatriated to South Africa from Zambia and Zimbabwe in September 2024 and were received by President Ramaphosa and the families at an official ceremony at Freedom Park. Preparations are currently underway for exiles' repatriations from Angola and Lesotho later this year. The work of the Missing Persons Task Team is intrinsically linked with the TRC component in the NPA and the DPCI. So they work very, very closely together to look at how investigation evidence can be shared between the two to ensure that we are also able to prosecute in these matters where the evidence is sufficient to do so. Slide 6. We are working to finalize more indictments, and a number of other matters have been lined up for inquests to be reopened, or requests to be made for reopening of inquests or formal inquests to be held once these investigations are finalized. And Shabnam, Advocate Singh, will give more details on these matters. All decisions are based on evidence, and there are some challenges given the age of these matters, and we have to ensure that the fair trial rights of accused persons and persons of interest are respected. In line with our victim-centered approach, we are committed and we continue to keep families informed of progress of investigations, and even where there's insufficient evidence in order to prosecute, we ensure that this is communicated to families so that even though there isn't a prosecution, they understand why this is the case. So ongoing communications with the families of victims is an important part of our work. In slide 7, I think let's return now to the purpose of today's presentation, which focuses on the submissions made by the Foundation for Human Rights. We did this morning receive a response from the Foundation. We haven't been able to interrogate that, but no doubt they can highlight some of the issues, and we are happy to submit a further written representation on some of the issues that may not have been addressed, but are addressed in the recent submission that we received this morning. I think at this point, I can hand over to Advocate Shabnam Singh, who is the head of the TRC component, who will take us through some of the more granular detail of the key issues, some of the key issues that have been highlighted in the FHR submissions and our responses to that. And then I will just make some concluding remarks, Chair, before handing back. Shabnam, are you ready to proceed?
NDPP, I'm ready.
You're very quiet. If you could speak a bit louder.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, a bit louder. It's better.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Honorable Chair and committee members.
We can't see is your camera not working?
My camera is out. It's not working in NDPP.
Okay, all right. Please go ahead. Apologies for that.
Thank you. Honorable Chair and committee members, good morning. We have prepared a short presentation to briefly address the most salient issues that have been highlighted by the Foundation for Human Rights in their submission to the PC and the NPA's comprehensive response that was provided. I'm going to move to slide 8, which captures in essence the issues that have been raised by FHR. I will address on the first 4 issues directed primarily at the TRC component, its functions and its purpose, the capacity within both the NPA and DPCI, progress specific to FHR listed matters, and the legal challenges. The last 2 issues, namely the 2 issues of the Commission of Inquiry and the creation of a special unit, the NDPP will address those issues. I would like to move over to slide 9. Slide 9 sets out briefly how the TRC component came to be created in September 2021. What is important is that TRC matters were dealt with by another component of the NPA, namely the Priority Crimes Litigation Unit, since 2003. In 2019, a decision was taken to migrate all TRC matters and related matters to the divisions in which they occurred. In September 2021, a separate component was created within the Office of the Deputy National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate de Kock, and the purpose thereof was to prioritize TRC matters. This followed shortly with the appointment of a national coordinator, whose purpose was to coordinate, assess, and drive progress on TRC matters. DPCI followed shortly and also appointed a national coordinator to deal with TRC matters. Can we move to, that was on slide 10. I see it's a little bit different here. Can we move to the, let me deal with the issue of capacity. The issue of capacity was central to prioritizing TRC matters. As part of our action plan, both NPA and DPCI had to be capacitated. The NPA obtained a deviation prior to September 2021. This was obtained from DPSA to appoint prosecutors on a 3-year contract. The contracts were later extended for an additional year. DPCI also followed a similar route and appointed investigators. The primary purpose, or the only purpose of the TRC prosecutors and investigators. For the prosecutors, it is to oversee and guide investigators on TRC matters. This is the exclusive function. In respect of TRC investigators from DPCI, their primary function is to investigate TRC matters. The current position is that approval was obtained for the creation of 19 permanent posts for dedicated TRC prosecutors within the different divisions. As it stands, interviews are underway and appointments as well. Prosecutors that we have on contract currently are 14, with DPCI investigators throughout the country, 30. In respect of the handover, we want to ensure that there's a smooth transition of handover of matters and that there must be a skills transfer from the outgoing prosecutors to the incoming prosecutors. And just to elaborate further, every DPP's office in the division has a Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions who deals with the TRC portfolio. All prosecutors account to the DDPP, who account to the DPP. This serves as a method of checks and balances, and the same occurs with DPCI that has a commander. All TRC prosecutors that have been appointed on contract are appointed on the level of a senior state advocate, and with them comes extensive experience. Next slide, please. In implementing an action plan to expedite on TRC progress, it was necessary to critically analyze the progress on every TRC matter under investigation. Dealing with TRC matters more or less 25 years after the TRC completed its work is not an easy feat. We understood that TRC cases are unique, and because of that, they deserved a unique approach. Slides 11 to 13 captured the processes and the plans that were put in place to assess TRC matters and drive progress. One of the first things that we did was we did an audit of all the matters that were under investigation within the division. This was an in-depth analysis. The idea of inviting an action plan from the divisions with the self-imposed timeframes was that without interfering with the powers and functions of the DPPs, these action plans were requested from all TRC prosecutors, where self-imposed timeframes were invited from investigators and prosecutors. We wanted to know what was the plan to fast-track the matter. In every case, we asked the key question: How old is the matter? How old are the witnesses? Are they living? What is the age of the persons of interest? Do we have persons of interest? Do we have similar fact detainees? What is the availability of victims? Is there a particular modus operandi that has been followed? What is the crux of the matter in each of these matters? Do we have experts that can guide on this? Can we fast track the matter? Can we pool our resources? And what is preventing finalization? It did not stop with just these questions that were asked and a feedback plan together with an action plan. We also asked for monthly feedback. When the TRC component was created, monthly feedback was received from the divisions. However, we required more comprehensive monthly reports to both NPA and DPCI, both the coordinators, to gauge progress. Next slide, please. Once the action plans with the self-imposed timeframes and monthly reports were received, we adopted a two-pronged approach. We targeted prosecution-guided investigations. It was important for both the NPA and DPCI to be on the same page insofar as what was required in terms of a thorough investigation. Ultimately, it is this investigation that will guide a prosecutor on the decision that has to be made. We focused on our investigations where we wanted to improve guidance that came from a prosecutor and render quality investigations, even with the challenges of a missing docket, a lack of a docket, a destroyed docket. We wanted to improve on the reconstruction of scenes and guide on how this should be done, the reconstruction of dockets, the obtaining of experts. The collation of quality evidence was imperative for us because this is the only evidence on which a prosecutor can take a decision. We concentrated on identification of victims, the complainants, witnesses, tracing of families and victims, giving regular feedbacks and updates. As I highlighted earlier, commonalities and modus operandi was very important to the investigation. We needed to identify persons of interest and suspects, and we needed to direct our investigators and prosecutors in the correct areas as to where to source evidence. And this was primarily sourcing information from National Archives, State Security, Military and Defense Archives, and other government departments. Slide 13. We deal with joint accountability sessions because TRC prosecutors and TRC investigators we actually followed an unprecedented approach in this way. It was strongly supported by the then Deputy National Director of Public Prosecutions. The purpose of having joint accountability sessions was that we could no longer sit in silos and wait for progress. The platform was created, and what we did was we went down to the divisions. Every accountability session runs over 2 or 3 days. This is informed by the volume of matters that we have to account on. Every matter is assessed. Every matter is critiqued. The sessions itself are attended by all the DPPs. They're attended by the deputy directors that are seized with the particular TRC portfolios. They're attended by all investigators, all prosecutors, and both the national coordinators at every division. The ultimate purpose is always going to be joint accountability by the NPA and DPCI on every case under investigation. We encourage constructive engagement between investigators and prosecutors in the presence of senior, seasoned supervisors and respective heads who guide on the challenges that we have, that we may or may not have. The ultimate goal is that there's no room to blame. Both prosecutors and investigators are there in the presence of their supervisors. Here, there are major points of discussion. We discuss progress or the lack of progress. What are the challenges and blockages? These sessions are solution-orientated. We share best practice in other divisions as to how other divisions have dealt with a particular challenge. We deal with legal challenges and bringing prosecutors up to date as to what is happening in respect of other divisions and developments within the divisions. Matters are also identified for fast tracking, considering the age and seriousness of the matter, the ages of the victim, the witnesses, the accused, the persons of interest, etc. Each duration, as I have said, is informed by the volume of matters within a particular division. The accountability sessions take place twice a year or more in specific divisions. If we file that a particular division is falling short of what is expected, we schedule more accountability sessions with that particular division. Endorsement of the accountability session was done by ex-Commissioner, TRC Commissioner Advocate Nsebeza, who accompanied the NPA DPCI on one of the accountability sessions. In order to improve, even with our investigations, what we did was we even offered in-house skills transfer. This also takes place during our accountability sessions, where we deal on inquests, reopened inquests, and dealing with issues that are on the criminal trial court roll. We also deal with evidence on commission and how to deal with those sorts of issues when witnesses are too old and we fear that they may not see an inquest reopened. We also deal with crime scene reconstruction, forensic pathology. We've offered training on MLAs and extraditions. We also targeted the process of methodology. Now, this is very, very important for the NPA and DPCI because we needed a practical way to assess whether we were making, whether there was progress on the matters that were made or not. And sitting together with NPA and DPCI, we put our investigations into 3 phases. We mainly did the medium A phase, the medium B phase, and the medium C phase. Your medium A phase concentrated on collating your docket, the initial reconstruction of a docket when a docket cannot be found, attempting to trace witnesses, similar fact detainees, attempting to trace court records, TRC records, etc. Your medium B phase, in order to assess whether we were making progress or not, we establish whether this is the point now where we need to access experts. This is incredibly important because more than 80% of our cases turn on expert evidence. One is then required to ascertain whether the person has hung himself as alleged, or did he jump to his or her death, or was there suspicious circumstances around the death that needs to be investigated. We engage with pathologists, trajectory engineers, or any other experts that are required to come and give feedback as to whether this is a suspicious death or not. The last phase is where we get the expert opinion, or we are in the final phases of where we've explored all investigative leads, and we are now in the final phase of making a decision, or a decision has been taken. Next slide, please. Sorry, I just want to just deal with something that I missed on the previous slide. Where we talk about joint accountability sessions, we're also talking about, we've also encouraged mini accountability sessions within the divisions. So divisions don't have to wait for the coordinators to attend a session twice a year throughout all the divisions to see where the progress has been made. We've encouraged mini accountability sessions. These are held with the TRC nodal points, or the TRC deputy that's dealing with the portfolio, the DPCI investigators, and the prosecutors. We shared best practice with the other divisions. We encourage that this takes place at least every 2 months. This has become, also we've included it as part of our annual operational plan, both in 2023 and 2024. The next slide, please, slide 14. I want to deal with the slide 14 and 15 deals with the progress that has been made on TRC matters. And this includes FHR related matters, especially since September 2021. We are not saying that we don't have challenges. We do have challenges because important documents like inquest documents and crime scene photos and witness statements all formed part of inquest records, which after 10 years is destroyed by Department of Justice. So we're already starting on a back foot more than 2 decades later. But despite that, we still fast-tracked, we identified matters, including FHR matters. We identified it for fast-tracking and we prioritized it. We submit that there is a link between the fast-tracking, prioritizing, monitoring, and ensuring accountability. We also must have regard to the fact that we have, at this point, we need resources and personnel, and equal attention must be given to all matters, even where there is no counsel that is involved. All families need closure, and we need to bring that type of closure to the families. Between slides 16 and 25, I'm going to take the committee through it. These are the matters where FHR has been listed as appearing on behalf of the families. We have 24 families that have been represented by FHR over a 3-year period. This, I'm talking about 2021 to 2025. There has been progress on each of the matters. The Timol matter particularly, after FHR represented the family, the NPA took a decision based on the evidence that was collated by DPCI to charge Mr. Rodriguez. We've had 3 inquests where FHR is involved. These were high-profile inquests where evidence was led. The matter was finalized, verdicts were overturned. We have 5 further matters where inquests have been reopened, where FHR is involved, and we value the feedback that has been given by FHR. We always want to be involved in structured engagement with FHR, especially insofar as information is collated and handed over to the investigating officers, DPCI. We have 5 matters where they are watching brief. There's criminal charges have been preferred. These are matters on the criminal court roll. We have 9 other matters where decisions are in the final phases of investigation or a decision is pending. And we have 3 other matters where a decision has been taken. In going through each, the next slide, please. In going through each of the matters, we have just since February 2025 and presently updated as to what has happened. In respect of the matter of Dr. Agate, we do understand, we know that the prosecutor that had been dealing with it, the contract came to an end. The matter is being dealt with a prosecutor. There had been engagements with Weber Wenzel, and the record was referred to the NPA after the inquest was held. We were given to understand at our last accountability session that there seemed to have been a challenge with the transcribed record. It has now been furnished to the prosecutor by the investigator, and we are hoping that we can have a decision in that matter soon. In respect of the matter of Mr. Matthews Mabalane, a formal inquest was announced. It was reopened on the 29th of January 2025. We understand that the prosecutor is liaising with Bowman's in respect of the taskings in that matter. The matter of Mr. Saluji, this matter, we are still waiting for a power of attorney that needs to be confirmed. In the matter of Mr. M. Tabule, statements are being sourced from Mr. M. Tabule's comrades at Lutuli House. And I think this is also a place where we could also welcome assistance in putting us in touch with, or the DPCI investigators in touch with the witnesses that we require. On slide 17, in respect of the COSAS 4 matter, there have been quite a few applications in this matter. It is presently on the criminal court roll. On the 14th of April, there was a challenge to the crimes against humanity charges that were confirmed on the 14th of April by the judge. They filed leave to appeal against the crime against humanity charges. This was also dismissed. The matter has now been set down for the 23rd of May 2025 for leave to appeal against the presiding officer's decision to previously recuse himself from the matter. Weber Wenzel appears as watching brief. In the matter of Mr. Nyoka, the first accused in this matter pleaded guilty, and he was found guilty in November 2024. We are expecting that sentencing will take place on the 5th and 6th of June 2025. We do have a pre-sentencing report. There was a separation of trials for the remainder of the accused. If you can move on to the next slide. In this matter, is Mr. Nyoka continued, it's State versus Engelbrecht and others. There are 3 other accused. Yesterday, the accused had brought an application for a Section 174 application. The matter is again on the roll on the 19th of May. It was on the roll yesterday. It's been postponed until Thursday, this coming Thursday, for the Section 174 application, the judgment to be given. In the matter of Mr. Sweet Sambo, this decision was taken. The DPP in Mpumalanga closed the matter because the suspects were granted amnesty. The other accused were tried and convicted. They were then charged with murder, and they successfully raised a plea which was upheld. In the Craddock 4 matter, we will deal with this later in the presentation as to where we stand. I'm given to understand that the DPP, Mr. Madolo, is also available together with the prosecutors to deal with any questions that may arise from that. In respect of the PEPCO 3 matter, the legal representatives for the families have engaged with the NPA during December as well as February 2025. A decision has been taken by the DPP, Mr. Madolo. There are internal processes that are underway in order to obtain the necessary authorizations for the way forward. In respect of the Highgate Hotel matter, this matter is part heard. It was a formal inquest which commenced on the 27th of January. Evidence was led. Further evidence was also led in March 2025. Evidence will be led in August 2025 with arguments set down for the 11th to the 15th of August 2025. In the matter of Dr. Rick Turner, this is a matter in KwaZulu-Natal. The decision was taken by the DPP to hold a formal inquest into the High Court, in the High Court. The legal representatives from Legal Resource Center have engaged and liaised with the NPA, and we understand that the council also liaised with the NPA. This is in the final phase of investigations where the NPA is busy with finalization of consultations and witnesses and pagination and indexing. The prosecutors that are involved in this matter are also involved in the high-profile matter of Chief Lutuli, which is also set to commence to continue until next month. So that matter they are currently engaged on. Next slide, please. In the matter of Mr. Bambo, this matter is also at an advanced stage of investigation. There are further engagements with an important witness that has been scheduled. A decision is imminent and from the Mpumalanga division. In the matter of Sergeant Richard and Irene Mutasi, this matter is also at an advanced stage of investigation. A meeting has been scheduled with the legal representatives of the family, Norton Fulbright, as well as NPA and DPCI for 10 June. In the matter of Ms. Simelane, this is the matter that is currently on the court roll where there is a Section 77 application which is underway. We're expecting to finalize the evidence of the expert for the defense between the 19th and the 22nd of May 2025. Next slide, please. The matter of Mr. Sons and Els, this stemmed from the reopened inquest into the death of Mr. Timol. A decision was taken on the 7th of July 2023 by NPS to decline to prosecute anybody in this matter, any person in this matter, so the matter is regarded as finalized. In the Gaborone matter, we are having a bit of challenge insofar as the MLAs are concerned, where we require information from other countries. However, it is under investigation and it is being dealt with. We believe the private investigator of CDH has liaised with DPCR in this matter. In respect of Operation 00, we state that the investigation is of a sensitive nature, but it is in the C phase of the investigation, and a decision must be taken based on the evidence that has been collated by DPCI. Then the next slide, please. In respect of the next two matters, Ms. Kubeka and Mr. Pewa, this matter, in both these matters, an inquest was originally instituted. Whilst evidence was being led, proceedings were stopped and converted into criminal proceedings. So the inquest proceedings stopped and converted into criminal proceedings. To date, we have 5 police officers each who have been charged in respect of those matters. We do acknowledge there's a challenge with the refusal by SAPS to fund the legal expenses. Both the matters are on the roll for the 10th of June 2025 for the state attorney and for legal representation. Perhaps I should just add on both these issues. In September 2023 and 2025, when we visited the divisions and it was brought to our attention that there were issues with the legal representation, the then acting Deputy National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate de Kock, and the present Acting Deputy National Director of Public Prosecutions addressed the issue with the Minister of Police. In both our correspondence, it was set out extensively the prejudice that has been suffered because the court roll collapses because we're unable to proceed, despite the fact that there are 2 court judgments against the SAPS calling for the fees of the legal representation to be paid. As it stands, we have again addressed it. We're hoping, as it follows in the Craddock 4 matter, that this issue of the SAPS legal funding will be resolved as well. We also attach the judgments for both ministers so that it can be it can be filtered from the top to the bottom to the relevant legal departments of SAPS. In the matter of Dr. Hafiji, this was an inquest. The investigation was led by the NPA and DPCI. There was a full inquest. The families were represented. Evidence was led, and the original finding was overturned. The matter is now finalized, where a decision was taken to decline to prosecute anyone. This was taken in 2024 by the DPP in KwaZulu-Natal. The next slide, please. In the matter of Mr. Nicholas Schlapi, this is Boyki Schlapi. It's in the Northwest. An application was made to the minister to reopen the inquest. There was a formal inquest that was held previously, which held that no one was to blame. Well, if my memory serves me correct, what it said was that they could not, with certainty, ascertain whether Mr. Schlapi was deceased or not. Pre-court preparations are underway. The person of interest who has been identified has been notified by the NPA to apply for legal representation to avoid any delays. The family representatives are also liaising with the NPA and DPCI. In the matter of Mr. Bayempinam Sizi, this matter was joined with that of Dr. Hafiji. This was at the time when the matter was dealt with by PCLU. But ultimately, no evidence was laid in this matter. FHR appears for the family, and there are challenges in this matter, in the sense that we cannot trace records. An investigation has not been finalized, but the family is being kept updated through the legal representatives, Garlick and Bowesfield. The similarities in why this matter should have been joined with that of Dr. Hafiji was because of the they both passed away at the same police station within 11 days of each other under suspicious circumstances, where it was alleged that the one deceased allegedly hung himself with a shirt, and if my memory serves me correct, the other deceased hung himself with his pants. In the matter of Mr. Dickie Jacobs, this is also an alleged suicide. There are challenges in this matter. We have challenges with the tracing of the records. However, the investigation is ongoing, and the family is being kept updated through their legal representatives, both with NPA and DPCI. The next slide, please. In the matter of Mr. Frunch, this is a matter in the Western Cape. There has been a lengthy feedback session with the family and DPCI and a witness that has been living abroad. The crime scene has also been visited. We have evidentiary material that has been submitted to the explosive expert. The opinion of a second pathologist has also been received. The video evidence has also been obtained, and majority of the police files, personnel files, have been sourced. The challenge that we have in this matter is that the explosive expert that we are utilizing is on long leave, which is causing delays. We have now advised our colleagues in the Western Cape to rather obtain another expert who has been sourced so that we can complete the reconstruction to take the matter to the next phase. Sorry, just 1 minute. My apologies, I'm suffering with a bit of a cold. In the matter of Mr. Ashley Creel, this is also a matter in the Western Cape. We have obtained witness statements, and the second opinion of the pathologists have been sourced. It is still outstanding. The report of an additional expert who is in the employ of the state is still awaited. We have a ballistics report is pending. A second pathology report is outstanding, and we have engagement with the family. This is also one of the challenges that we have highlighted before, that we do not have outside experts, and if we do have outside experts, they come at a cost. It's extremely expensive, but they do come with a specific skill. And when the services are sought, it becomes too expensive for us to obtain their services. We then rely on, for example, pathologists in the State Department or those within forensic science laboratory. The challenge is that then it just takes additional time, which is a luxury which we do not have. But these are the practical challenges that we have in dealing with TRC matters, and obtaining and creating our own pool of experts where we would be able to utilize their experience. In the matter of Mr. Luke Mazwemba, this is also in the Western Cape. Here we are having problems with the Department of Public Works, with whom we have engaged. The reconstruction cannot be done until we have structural plans of the cell. In majority of our matters, we always have to go back and do a reconstruction, especially where it is alleged that a person hung himself or the person jumped to his death or where there was some other suspicious circumstances. The challenge with Department of Public Works, and we have engaged with them in an attempt to remove this kind of impediment to the investigation, is that they have a shortage of personnel. We were given to understand we did try and shorten the process and highlight a few high-profile matters to at least allow us to get reconstructions underway. We have seemed to have hit a snag, but the DPCI is attending to the matter. In this Mr. Mazwembe's matter, we are waiting for the second opinion of a pathologist, which has been procured, and we understand that Weber Wenzel appears on behalf of the family. They also liaise with the NPA and DPCI. The next slide, please. The matter of Mr. Ndondo is a fairly new investigation. It was registered in August 2024, which is last year. However, investigation is already in the C phase of the investigation. We are at this point now tracing witnesses and persons of interest, and we're expecting that a decision is imminent. The family representative is updated on the developments in the matter. Next slide, please. On slide, this slide, I think it's slide, it's unnumbered. I think it's slide 26 and 26 to 28. We deal with the opinion that was procured from Advocate Nsebeza SC. In October 2022, and in line with the findings and the recommendations that were made in the Rodriguez matter, the leadership took a decision to appoint a senior counsel to assess whether the measures, checks and balances that were put in place in September 2021 to deal with TRC matters were adequate. The work done by the NPA and DPCI was assessed. We opened our all the work that was done to Advocate Nsebeza and his team, and we allowed them to critically assess whether we are complying, whether we are adequate, and whether the checks and balances that we have put in place is adequate. The opinion was received in November 2023. It was shared, and it was found that the measures adopted and implemented to deal with TRC matters are in large part adequate. It acknowledged that there were many of the matters which were also in the beginning stages of the investigation. There were a number of challenges that they also identified relating to the availability of dockets, inquest records, the fact that these were decade-old cold cases. They also highlighted the issue of payment of experts for reconstructions, access to stakeholders and information. The same issues are being raised in 2025. The issue of legal representation was addressed by the DNDPP, as we stated, 2023 and 2025. But the opinion also accepted the monitoring and oversight role of the monthly TRC reporting, oversight under the DNDPP, monthly updates to the national coordinators. It also emphasized the importance of regular briefing sessions between the NPA and DPCI. It also, and the dedicated personnel. It also emphasized accountability to families, transparency, our communication channels, and it stressed the importance of accountability sessions. They also acknowledged that audits were done, that there was fast tracking, and it found the hybrid structure of the NPA to be satisfactory. Next slide, please. I'm going to leave this slide and the following two slides for the NDPP. The next slide, please. We took this slide, we just highlighted what FHR said is at odds with the opinion. We submit that the opinion shows that there is accountability, that there are adequate checks and balances. We submit that the prosecutors account to the DDPP. The DDPP was the TRC nodal point. The DDPP is accountable to the DPP. The DPP is accountable to the DNDPP. The DNDPP ultimately accounts to the NDPP. The NDPP may, under certain circumstances, exercise her powers of review, but all TRC decisions are taken by the divisions. There is a memoranda that is submitted on every decision that has to be taken, that is submitted to the national coordinator. These issues have been communicated at stakeholder engagements with FHR, which we consider very, very important. And it is important that FHR continue the good working relationship with that of the divisions. We emphasized the oversight by Parliament of various appearances before the committee in June and November 2022. We also appeared in 2023 and 2024, where we highlighted the same issues and our presentations were shared. We must engage in structured engagement with FHR and other NGOs. The DPP's offices have jurisdiction over all the matters. We also shared this with the Apartheid Era Victims Family Group, and this is a group where this is made up mostly of family members, and we liaise with they continue to liaise with the DPPs and the DPCI and investigators in the divisions where the matters occurred. There is regular engagements with all the DPPs, and if anybody is dissatisfied, it is then escalated to the national coordinators who must intervene. We have a prosecution policy which we follow, but ultimately the decisions on the matters are taken by the DPP. The TRC matters are prioritized, and they are also a standing item at middle management meetings at NOM, which is attended by all DPPs. The next slide, please. I just want to deal with this very, very briefly. This was prepared before yesterday's case management meeting. However, as advised, the DPP is on hand together with the prosecutors that have dealt with the matter. Initially, there were 3 persons of interest from the South African Police Services. That issue of legal representation has been resolved. We have another person from SAPS where there was a challenge with legal representation. That has been resolved. We had an issue with 2 members of the Department of Education. That has been resolved. The issue for the legal representation for the witness for Mr. Goniwe and the issue of the Craddock 4 community, that has also been resolved. The only challenge that we do have at the moment is that with the Council for South African Defence Force. We were told that they were invited to the case management meetings. We do not know why it was not attended. However, even here, even though the prosecution does not usually arrange for legal representation, the NPA prosecutors got involved. And what they are doing is liaising with the State Attorney's Office from Pretoria to expedite the matter in this, to expedite the issue of legal representation. We're expecting that the Craddock 4 matter will start on the 2nd of June. Then I'm going to move over. Can I just see which other issues? The next slide, please. The next slide. So this is the last slide where we have taken that these are the challenges that are inhibiting progress. And we're hoping that if there's intervention here, that it would make the work of the TRC for investigators and prosecutors much easier. This pertains to the sourcing and creating a pool and the payment of experts. Even here, we did attempt to intervene. What we have done is asked our pathologists and our engineers and our trajectory experts to share their expertise with 5 of our experts from the Forensic Science Laboratory. This is expected to take place in August this year. We would like very much for that to take place because in doing the skills transfer, we're able to not burden the budget of investigators, because a huge chunk gets used up for our reconstruction. So we're hoping if we can share skills, we will be able to spend more time with the experts we have on other matters in the country, and we don't have to use expensive experts. The cost of legal representation for persons of interest, as I've addressed, we've already addressed this with the minister. We're hoping that we do not have any other issues. Access to documentation in possession of stakeholders, we are still experiencing challenges where you have documentation in possession of military, for example, defense and intelligence archives. We're unable to access that because those documents are classified. And we need to declassify apartheid era files, because this is where the evidence that is needed to prove either there was foul play or there was no foul play is contained in these apartheid era files. And they can only be declassified by the organization or the persons that have classified them. That brings me to the end of the just overall work that has been done by the TRC component. I'll now hand it over back to the NDPP to deal with the issues.
Yeah, you hand over back to me, then I hand over to the NDPP.
My apologies, Chair. My apologies.
And VP, please proceed, Repap.
Apologies, Chair. Thank you. So, Chair, just on the update on the Commission of Inquiry, you heard our colleague from the Department of Justice give an update on this. So it's pretty much the same. So I think we can pass on this and just go to the concluding remarks, Florencia. So just in conclusion, Chair, just to say that, hopefully the presentation that Advocate Singh has given gives and just dealing, as I said, with the FHR matters. There are a number of other matters that we have not presented on today, but we have done so in the past. And we're happy to present on progress on, holistically in the future. The important aspects was really to create a dedicated capacity. The FHR did suggest at some point the creation of an investigating directorate, as was the case before the investigating directorate against corruption was made permanent. So the challenges with that is because of the challenges that we had with the ID before it became the IDAC. We realized that, especially when it comes to secondment of staff, etc., which an ID would depend on, that with the challenges that we had with the ID before it became IDAC, that it was not a good idea to proceed along those lines. But we did create a dedicated component. There has been suggestions by the FHR that we consider creating a special director of public prosecutions post to head up the TRC component. And we are engaging with this and considering whether that would be appropriate. There's a number of factors that needs to be considered when one creates a new post in an institution. This will be a new post, and a special director is appointed by the president. So ultimately, we are looking into it. And in the event that we do consider that this is an option or something that we should make a recommendation on, then the ultimate decision will be that of the president with the recommendation of the national director and the minister. So that is something that we are engaging with and considering. Chair, honorable members, that is the presentation of the NPA, and we look forward to taking questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MTPP. Now I want to take SAPS, but I think we need to indicate before that we would have received, I see you, Honorable Nomvalo, I'll come back to you, would have received your presentation yesterday, which is about 189 pages, which I think covers a lot of issues because you are part of the missing persons task team. I think a lot of aspects would have been covered. So if you can do an executive summary of that presentation and also dive deeper on issues relating to the legal fees, because you'll recall that there would have been inquest that gets postponed on the basis of legal fees, and there would have been some court applications against SAPS in relation to the same aspect. So if you can just dive deeper on in detail with regard to that. Pause there, General Lebenya. Honorable Nomvalo, is your hand still up?
No, Chair, I was under the impression that you are now allowing members to come in.
Oh, okay. No, we're still coming there, my honorable member. Thank you. Honorable Blair, please proceed. DM Boyshelo.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I was surprised. Yeah.
Sorry, we almost made a mistake, General Lebeng. The Deputy
Look, maybe
Minister.
I'm the OPDM now.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think Dr. Livia will present on behalf of the TPCI. With your permission, Chair, Dr. Livia.
Thank you very much, DM.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning to the Deputy Minister of Police, Dr. Wishielo, the DG in the platform, as well as all the senior colleagues. I see that my presentation, I'm disabled from sharing the presentation, but otherwise, as the chairperson has indicated, we submitted a document that is more than 189 pages, which one will not be dealing with that because my colleagues in the NPA has already dealt with the content of what is contained in this document, which is just in different format. We work together, Honorable Chairperson, with the NPA because they are the ones who, at the end of the day, make a final decision as to whether the matter needs to go to criminal court or maybe it need inquest court, or whether there is a need to prosecute or decline to prosecute based on the available evidence. From the DPCI side, as it shall have been indicated, we have put together a capacity to deal with these matters. Initially, we employed personnel on a contract basis, those who had retired and the like. We started with 43 on a 3-year contract. And thereafter, when the contract expired, we appointed others on a permanent basis, 18 of them, and 17 of them were appointed again on a 3-year contract. So we are still having those on contract who are not eligible to be appointed on a permanent basis. So we are putting that to assist us in speedily finalizing the matters. It has been indicated that there are challenges that are based, obviously, on the fact that some of these matters have been pending for a very, very long time, more than 40 years, some of them. In our presentation, we shall have indicated which matters are on the court roll and which matters are on the criminal court roll and which matters are on the inquest. The others, we shall have indicated which matters are pending investigation, which matters are with the NPA to assess and make a decision. So those, I will not be repeating the content of those. The honorable members would have seen. Yes, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chairperson.
Your connectivity
yes, Chairperson.
is too weak.
Oh.
Your connectivity is too weak. Please just switch off the video.
Switch off the video. Okay. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I hope that is better.
Yes, it's better. Proceed.
Yes. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. So the content of the cases, I will not deal with them as I have indicated that the National Prosecuting Authority have dealt with the content, which we are working together as a team. With regard to the specific question that the Honorable Chairperson wanted me to dwell on is the issue of legal fees. Indeed, this has posed a challenge. At the beginning, it was felt that there is no need to finance these individuals who have actually perpetrated this not in the interest of the police. At the time, it was the South African police. Although we are the South African Police Service, you take over whatever conduct was done by those who were in the South African police. So initially, there was that view that we have to oppose this. And the court directed that we need to be financing this, which is how it happened. And with regard to the new application, obviously the individual are citing that precedent that because we have been able to pay on the other, we also need to finance the other. So I have been advised that the matter in the Eastern Cape has been sorted out, but it's just the nitty-gritties that I needed to be clarified, or how has it been sorted out as to how did we manage to finalize that. So it is a matter that ourselves and legal services in the SAPS will be interrogating so that we can reach finality on that. So that is the issue regarding the financing of legal services that is to represent those who were former members of the SAP at the time when the incident took place. So that is the current status regarding this issue of finances. The financial office as well as our legal services are going to be briefing so that we can see how far we have gone. So, but finality will be reached on this. We are aware of the court date that has been set. We have been advised that before that, the matter will have been sorted out. So that is, in short, what I can say, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, regarding the DPCI's involvement in this. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, General Beyer. You commit here that the inquest on the Craddock 4 starts on the 2nd of June. So you commit here that by then the issue of legal fees in relation to the former security branch and South African police members is going to be sorted before the 2nd.
I commit that this on that matter, Honorable Chairperson.
Okay, thank you, General Benya. Legal aid.
Good morning, Honorable.
I see members already want to engage now. This is the last one, members, I promise. This is the last one. Mr. Nemesis, proceed.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Honorable Chair, and good morning to honorable members and the other colleagues from the different departments and DG from the Department of Justice. Chair, ours is just to confirm that with regard to the Craddock 4 inquest, initially the application for legal aid from one family member, the Goniwe family, for legal representation of the inquest was declined. However, the DG, the Department of Justice, has now confirmed the funding for the legal representation for the family. Legal aid has acted upon receiving that confirmation. So the families of the Craddock 4 chair will be provided legal representation at the inquest. One family member, the Goniwe family, have approached legal aid and we have already appointed the legal representation. They are preparing for the hearing, which means the hearing on the 2nd of June will be able to proceed without any challenges. We have not received any request for legal representation from other 3 family members. However, should they approach us, we will definitely provide that legal representation, Chairperson. From our side, we do confirm that we are providing the legal representation to the families of the Craddock 4. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Short and precise, Honorable Breitenbach, Honorable Nomvalo, Honorable Mhlala, Honorable Swart, Honorable Matafa, Honorable Kloba, in that order.
Thanks, Chair, and good morning to everybody. And thank you for the updates. Chair, I must say that while the updates have been encouraging and informative, on the one hand, they're a little concerning on the other, but I think certainly the idea behind this meeting for me was to ensure that we deal with the issue of legal representation. So it certainly wasn't my intention, I don't know about the other members, it certainly wasn't my intention that we should get another detailed update, the more detailed updates of this nature we get or are perceived to ask for, the less time there will be to actually work on the matters. So that's an issue we should consider. But again, we're too late for the Product 4 inquest, which was the driving force really behind the request for this meeting. And again, the matter is going to be postponed. And that's a matter of grave concern. That was one thing we wanted to avoid. There's established case law, Chair, that says that whether one is comfortable with the idea or not is really irrelevant. The fact is that the suspects, the accused in these matters, are going to have to be represented, and the police or the defense force are going to have to pay for it. And instead of arguing about it and obfuscating and employing counsel to object to it, they should just get on with it. There's no dignity left for any of us here by constantly postponing these matters. It's already 30 years too late. There's no excuse for it. There's no justification for it. And however much we delve into the reasons for it later, it's not going to change the fact that we're 30 years too late. And we need to get it done. And so I would really urge, Chair, that the people who are in a position to take decisions about funding, take them. And that isn't the NPA. The National Prosecuting Authority can't force the police to pay for the defense of accused people. Neither can they force the defense force to pay. It's out of their hands. The people in those departments who make these decisions should please make them and do the right thing and get these matters on the roll and get them done. The pace that the National Prosecuting Authority is exhibiting is a little slow, and their presentation is very well set out. It's very detailed. It's certainly convincing that attention is being paid to the matters finally. But there's so many report backs and so many people involved in reporting back that I wonder when the actual work gets done. I'm not really surprised that it's taken so long, because they're too busy reporting back all the time to be able to get their jobs done. I also wonder at the necessity for getting a senior counsel opinion on whether they're doing their job sufficiently or not. The National Prosecuting Authority are prosecutors. They're experts at prosecuting matters. They're experts in criminal law. I can't imagine that they need to self-validate by getting the views of outside counsel to tell them whether they in fact are doing a good job or not. There are enough people in the NPA who can do that themselves. And all of that is just time wasted. But Chair, the purpose of this meeting for me was to get together the people who make decisions and impress upon them the need to make those decisions. And I think that's what this committee should do today, is insist that those decisions are taken, and they're taken in time, so that these matters can be enrolled, and then once on the roll, they can run. That we don't have to have endless postponements in order to deal with whether people are going to be represented or not. They must be represented. Someone has to pay. Just do it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Nomvalo.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I must start by saying that at least now there's some little bit of improvement in terms of how this presentation has been structured. I remember vividly that we criticized the previous report, which was tendered to this committee, because it was not comprehensive, and it was not giving enough details. And we went to an extent of recommending to the NPA that they must give a report case by case, so that we will have a clear understanding of the progress that has been made in each case. So I think, Chair, I must start by commending that effort in that regard. So it means that our meetings are effective if they influence that kind of a paradigm shift. Then secondly, in the report, they say that there is an addition of 9 posts in the TRC component that they are busy with, and now they are busy with the interviews. Now, I want to have a question which says, what kinds of skills and expertise are you considering in appointing these people and experience? Because we don't want an influx of clowns who are going to open WhatsApp groups here when they are dealing with serious and critical matters and sensitive matters and want to reduce them to WhatsApp groups. Want experienced people who are going to do this work expeditiously and who will bring the confidence that has been lost in the NPA. So what kind of a expertise or technical skills have you used as a requirement to appoint these personnel? Then secondly, what you have not told us is that Advocate Zabeza, in his report, made a mention of a political interference, which has also had a severe impact on the delay of these matters, of the successful prosecution of these matters. Now, the question is, with regards or following that finding by Advocate Zabeza, have you made any attempt to investigate internally the kind of any political interference that might have led to the delays? And if so, what reaction have you done? I mean, what consequence management have you applied? How many people have been identified to have interfered or to have been influenced by political interference? And are there any repercussions to that effect? You have not mentioned that. You have only spoken about the lack of proper systems to deal with these matters as a finding of Advocate Zabenza, but you missed the other part, which I think, according to my logic, is very important, and it's not an issue that can be thrown under the carpet because it prominently affected the performance of the NPA in dealing with these matters. Then on the inquests which are currently underway, how confident are you that we are going to be successful? Now, when I say, I mean in the best interest of the victims. How confident are you? And what makes you, if you are confident, then what makes you, what systems have you put in place? What kind of skills have you gathered to ensure that we do not lose once again these cases in an inquest on a basis of one, incompetency, but two, on the basis of a glaring finding, possible glaring finding that there is no sufficient prima facie evidence. Then on the progress report, I think what was missing on the progress report that we have just presented here is a report or is an update on the consultations that you have or that you might have had with the victims or with the families of the victims, rather. You have only just told us that no, the family has been kept abreast through their family legal representatives. And then what about those who don't have legal representatives? How do you keep them abreast? Remember, what we said here is that even if you were doing a good job in these cases as the NPA, but if you do not keep the families abreast, you are just precipitating a perception that you are doing absolutely nothing. And if the families happen to believe in that perception, then it's justifiable because there is nothing that you have done to keep them
updated. So you will be allowing wrong perceptions to flourish. Now, I think it's important that in your progress report, you also have a column which explains the kind of consultations that you have had, because you are not representing your jackets, but you are representing the victims of the apartheid. So it's important that they are well aware of what is happening in these matters. And then the allocation of matters now, when you allocate matters, do you have any criteria in terms of their complexities to say, or you just use a standard approach? I mean, or you just use a blanket approach of saying, no, any matter can go to any prosecutor. Do you allocate matters in terms of the experiences and in terms of the strengths of the personnel that you have in the TRC component, or you just allocate to say, take any matter that you want to take and go to an inquest or go to court? So how do you allocate these matters? The report also says that there are 194 matters which are under investigation, and 35 of those, and for 35 of those who have taken a decision not to proceed because of various reasons, quote unquote, that's what you have said, that because of various reasons, and you have not alluded to those reasons. Because we are also interested to know where you say you can't proceed. What are the reasons for not proceeding? Because we carry the best interest of the victims here. And you even make an effort of informing the victims that on these matters, for these reasons, we decided not to proceed. Do you make that effort? Do you tell the victims? And is there no any other option other than not proceeding, of maybe trying to identify weaknesses and cure them so that you can proceed in these cases? Because not proceeding is not ideal, because I believe that the TRC, because when you say you don't proceed, that's a vote of no confidence in the TRC. So it means you are saying there are major considerations that they aborted when they made findings and ultimately recommendations. So what is happening here? Please take us through. Want to know. With regards to the legal aid, what I can encourage is that in order for us to score success in these inquests, they must ensure that they dispatch capable men and women who are going to assist these victims. You know, legal aid, that you carry a very severe stigma of being accused of being incompetent, of being accused of colliding with the state, colluding with the state, I mean. So it's important that on such critical matters, because they also give you an opportunity to showcase your strengths, but equally to prove wrong this narrative, to make it to make a statement to the public that this perception is unscientific. So it's important that on such prominent and critical matters, you do not gamble with the lives of the victims. So make sure that you do a thorough assessment of the personnel that is going to be deployed to deal with these matters. Then lastly, Chair, on the reparations now, the report says that the TRC identified 21,000 and something people who are eligible for reparations. But in terms of progress, only 17,000 and something have been, compensated. Now, the question is, where is the problem here? Why is it so difficult to identify? I've heard someone talking about the roadshows and so on, which I've never seen through my naked eye. Maybe they are doing them in a bedroom because we've never seen them. Where are those roadshows done? And why, after so long, only 17,000 and something people have been compensated out of 21,000? What is the problem here? And lastly, Chair, are we not facing a threat within the victims now, within the perpetrators who were identified by and I think this one goes to the SAPS as well, to say, are we not facing a threat? Because it has now become fashionable here in South Africa that when people have been charged or when there are looming allegations against them, they just fly, they go back to their countries. We all know that apartheid perpetrators, most of them or some of them were originally coming from other countries. Now, are we not facing a threat of people who have run away, which will result to the state having to do the extradition applications? Have you made a determination to that effect? And if you have made it, are you in a position to give us the statistics to say we have been able, in terms of the investigation, to make a determination that these ones are still within the country, these ones have died, these ones are outside the country, so that we'll know what is it that we're dealing with here. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Shala.
No, thanks so much, Chairperson. Let me take an opportunity and greet members of the Portfolio Committee, and I'll just say protocol observe in order to run away from wasting time. Chairperson, South Africa cannot build a just society while apartheid-era crimes remain unpunished, and the voices of victims and their families are continuously ignored. Chair, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission did not only expose the horrors of the past, it gave this country a mandate to deliver justice. That mandate has been betrayed chiefly by the National Prosecuting Authority. Chairperson, for more than 2 decades, the NPA has hidden behind excuses while time erodes truth and witnesses and accused pass away. Survivors are dying before they see justice. So, Chairperson, what defeated me today, at least, the NPA presentation today showed progress, and also the presentation of other institutions that are here. As much as is not enough, but at least we saw something. Chair, I want to start with this question of Eugene de Kock, the former commander of Flag Plus, who was convicted of multiple murders and atrocities committed during apartheid. While he served time and was eventually paroled, many of his accomplices, those who planned, ordered, assisted, or covered up these crimes, have never been prosecuted. De Kock himself, during the TRC and later in his interviews, was often evasive or selective in naming others, and at times refused to account fully for the roles of his superiors and colleagues. So I've got a question to the NPA. Why has Eugene de Kock's accomplices, including those who murdered, who planned, who ordered or assisted in Flag Plus crimes, not been brought before the court, even after it's a TRC matter. Why those people are not being brought before the court? Has the NPA conducted a comprehensive review of all TRC records, court transcript, and the court's own testimony to identify prosecutable cases against his associate? So, Chairperson, the other question with regards to that matter is, what is the NPA strategy to overcome the lack of cooperation from those accomplices of the court who have refused to from the court himself and others who have refused to fully disclose their knowledge of accomplices? So, Chairperson, I end there, but we need answers in terms of this thing of the court. So the other question with regards to the presentation, Chairperson, what is the NPA's plan to repair the deep, my computer is dark, to repair, actually, Chairperson, just hold on, oh, I'm stuck. Okay, no, it's fine. My computer doesn't want to move, Chair. So I will also ask this question to the Hawks. What has the Hawks done to hold those responsible for destroying critical TRC-related evidence in 1995 under ministerial instruction? Has there been any investigation into that act of state-sanctioned obstruction, Chair? Chair, with regards to other questions that I wanted to ask, the first one is, what is the NPA's plan to repair the deep mistrust it has created among survivors, families, and the broader public? Because there's too many people that are saying that they are not getting any information from the NPA. But today, at least in this report, when they were presenting, we heard that there is now something that they are doing. They are speaking to the victims of these crimes, which happens during the apartheid era. The other thing, Chaps, the other question, why has the NPA refused to release the names of deceased victims in the 137 cold cases it claims to be investigating? What security risk does telling the truth pose in a democratic society? Chair, also in terms of the prosecutors' capacity, why has the number of TRC prosecutors dropped from 25 to 14? They did explain that. When do these prosecutors' contract end? And what is being done to ensure proper skill transfer and case continuity? I think they've spoken to that, but what are they going to do going forward to ensure that doesn't happen? We heard in one of the cases, the case is delayed because the prosecutor who was handling the case is no longer, the contract ended. What will they do going forward to ensure that issues such as those ones doesn't happen? Because once a contract expire and a prosecutor stop doing his job, the other one that comes start from, instead of continuing his start, he had to understand the case and all those things. So our question is, how will they do to ensure that issues such as those ones where people that are handling cases, just their contract just get ended on the way? Chairperson, in terms of political interference, will the NPA cooperate fully with the newly announced Commission of Inquiry into alleged political suppression of TRC cases? what internal records or directive, especially from the Thabo Mbeki era, will the NPA make available to this commission? I think, Chairperson, I am done. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Swart.
Chair, thank you. And again, thank you to all the entities here for the submissions. I wanted to just ask an issue relating to the consideration of budgetary implications given the very heavy workload of the TRC matters, as well as the present workload that SAPS is enduring, that the NPA is enduring. And I must emphasize the need for justice and for closure for the victims in these TRC matters. So my concern is that there are severe budgetary constraints that all the entities, and I'm sure that SAPS would also agree with that they are experiencing, and I need to understand the impact that this has on your prosecutors, on your investigators, and could this have been a reason which is inexcusable, but at the same time, something that possibly a commission of inquiry might have to look into as to why these matters were not finalized earlier. But I am more interested at the moment what impact this has on the finalization of matters, given the great pressure that is on SAPS, on Hawks, on all entities, on the NPA to finalize many, many matters that we keep raising. So I'd like to have an understanding of that. I'd also like to have an understanding of whether of the persons, the victims eligible for reparations, the number of 21,000, 17,000 have been paid out. That leaves 4,000. What is the challenge in that regard? Is it relating to finding the victims, or is it budgetary constraints? One presumes it is tracing those victims, but I would be interested as well as to whether there are budgetary constraints in that regard as well. I would also like, and Chair, maybe we might need to get an input from the Office of the Chief Justice, because the issue of delays in inquest proceedings, in criminal proceedings, is multiple, and it can be legal representation, it can be presence of witnesses. Often it is due to backlogs in the courts. And I would probably also like an input as to what impact that has in enrolling matters that have to be considered, dealt with, that being the issue of availability of courts, availability of judges due to very heavy court rolls. Chairperson, those are my questions for the time being. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Swart. Honorable Matafa.
Thank you very much, Chair. Greetings to the executive leadership, the NDPP, and all members on the platform. Chair, maybe let me start by appreciating the presentation and join members who commended the progress that is being shown today as far as the work is concerned. But maybe request the Chair, when you do your planning for the committee, consider having a follow-up session so that this beautiful hope that is being raised by this progress that we are seeing today does not just become a false hope where speed in the process drops and eventually comes to a standstill and nothing happens. Chair, I'm not in any way saying that I do not trust the commitment of the NPA, the police, and all related stakeholders. We know that these matters are over 2 decades old. Some of them have disappeared simply because victims and perpetrators have departed this earth. So I think it is important to ensure that we keep a continuous conversation as a committee and all related stakeholders, particularly the ministry in the Justice Department. Chair, maybe on the point that Honorable Suarez raised in terms of the backlogs in the courts, the challenges raised in the courts. My question would be, could there be a need for a dedicated TRC court? And maybe just to find out if whether are there judges that requires appointment to look at these inquests that are yet to be reopened, and what is the plan on the side of the prosecution in terms of ensuring that there is sufficient capacity when inquests are reopened. Chair, the third point is just on the continuous challenges that the NPA is facing. And I'm happy with the suggestion by Honorable Breitenbach, and I want to align myself to that. There is a judgment that legal fees must be paid. So the question that comes is, ever since that judgment has been issued, has the police in its planning, especially as it relates to the budget, taken this judgment into consideration, and are we planning to ensure that there are funds available to assist to ensure that the matters are then put in a manner that they're supposed to be enrolled and executed? Chair, a direct question maybe to the NPA is to find out, or the TRC component particularly, if whether there is sufficient or adequate support from other departments and organs of state. I'm asking, Chair, there is an example that was made in the presentation that a scene reconstruction could not be done because blueprints of a particular cell were not made available. So such delays speak to either resistance to support or lack of interest in the matters. So the question would be, is there sufficient and adequate support? And if not, have we reached a stage whereby maybe we need to have a mechanism where a particular department, and I think the first one that comes to mind is the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, to lead a particular mechanism which ensures that the efforts that were indicated in the presentation, that there is some level of collaboration, is put in a manner that it's easily overseen, because it will at least be codified or written somewhere in a particular mechanism, maybe in the JCPS cluster. And maybe I think the NPA can assist in that regard, because in most of the challenges that are being raised, it is them that are raising these particular challenges that they experience. Chair, let me respect time and not repeat questions that have been asked. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable Klopper.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you for the updates and all the presentations, submissions. Being last on the queue, your questions, and it gets shorter and shorter. Chairperson, the documents provided were extremely voluminous, and I think in handling these matters, time is of the essence. And the truth is that the time's running out. On one hand, the victims, the family of the victims are sadly passing away, witnesses are passing away, perpetrators are passing away, and as time passes, I don't believe that successful prosecution will take place, and I think it's just slipping further and further away. And I really, want to urge all the various departments to actually climb on board and do what's right. Despite all these challenges and things, they must really do what's right. As saying time falls away, you're not going to get this time back. 3 decades later, it's troubling that so many cases are still unresolved. What's more troubling is also that a significant amount of reparations are still unpaid to those who it's owed to. It's difficult to listen to justification of decades-long inaction to these TRC's cases. And especially given that inquiry has to be established into political interference of suppressing these prosecutions. It begs the question that why the Department of Justice Constitutional Development has failed to implement health housing and community rehabilitations to many people, despite, I think there's 2 billion in the President's Fund. And this for over 2 decades. And it can't simply be attributed to delays. It's simply not fair to the victims, Chairperson. I think the one that really bugs me, and I understand that it's as I understand from the SAPS, we're on the brink of solving this. But considering the High Court ruling, I think it was Kutsia and others, and said that the state had the obligation to fund these legal representation for apartheid era operatives. While there's multiple TRC cases, I think it's the Craddock 4, Kosas 4, and the Mfenge. They're still stalling due to the SAP refusing the legal funding. And I just need to understand what more has been done and why the state departments, I think it's SABS, SANDF, Department of Justice, Legal Aid, being accountable for the collapse or the indefinite postponement of the TRC inquests and trials due to the funding refusals. And I think it was just last month we had the declined pay from funding for Mr. de Kock. In September 2024, de Kock first requested legal assistance, and it was declined. And now again, end of April, it was declined for the second time. And I just think it's, when you're keeping the real people that matter, and those are the victims in these cases, and the families of these victims in the cases, and if you keep them in the forefront, I think this injustice is, it's unheard of. And I don't understand how we are continuing on this trend. And, sitting through another presentation, and yes, we need this information, but we're sitting here while these victims are waiting. And it's voluminous, it's great information, but hopefully this information will then be transferred into actually real action. And then the next time we sit, that funding from SAPS on these will have been approved. Because if it's not, then these meetings are pointless to sit and discuss these things, and it's not making any changes. So on the next meeting, I specifically will be looking at that, and hopefully we will see a change. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Lopa.
Chair.
Who is that?
Honorable Mushala.
Yes, Ms.
Earlier,
Mshala.
I was dealt with by technology. I've got 2 more questions that I want to pose, so that when they respond, they just respond. I don't think other members touched to them. I'm not sure. So
Okay.
the question is, what measurable outcomes can the NPA commit to delivering before the end of 2025 in terms of these TRC cases? Can the NPA give us a clear timeline, case by case, of the 197 TRC cases currently under investigations? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Zaid?
Thank you, Chair.
Do you have any issues that you wish to raise before the responses?
Just a couple of issues, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you. Shall I proceed?
Yes, proceed.
Okay. I think first, let me say that we welcome the NPA's response, and we accept and understand the difficulties associated with dealing with cold cases. And we don't want to appear in any way unappreciative or unreasonable of the efforts that have been made, or unreasonable in our expectations. Generally, however, I think we are not concerned about these unavoidable delays, like retrieving court documents or plans, etc. We are very much concerned with delays that could have been avoided with more prompt and decisive action on the part of the NPA. We understand, and I think the members have raised, that we're dealing with a very short window, that we're dealing with somewhere between 5 and 10 years, and probably even less, before many of these cases will simply become unmanageable. There will be no further prosecutions, there will be no further investigations. And that means that we cannot treat these cases simply as ordinary matters. We have faced, and committee members have recognized, that there's been this lengthy delay of between 15, 20 years where no progress was made. that if these efforts had been made in the early 2000s, far more cases would have been prosecuted and we'd have far greater progress. So we had that avoidable delay. We cannot have any further delays. In that light, I think we welcome the NDPP's recognition that perhaps there ought to be further structural changes within the way the NPA deals with these cases, that members, as we've recommended in our initial submission, that we need to look at a special court to deal with TRC matters. Again, we can deal with these things in the normal course of events. We can treat them as business as usual, and that will mean that we will fail because time is against us. And therefore, we need to take these special measures. I welcome the change of heart by the SAPS, and even though it is too late for the inquest as planned in the Craddock 4 matter to go ahead, so when it starts in June, we will only deal with the family members giving evidence, and those persons of interest will be dealt with at a later date. And we hope now that that later date won't be further endangered by the change of heart. But I can also join members in asking that there are many other inquests that could be similarly affected. And if we could have a statement of principle from the SAPS, and unfortunately we don't have, as you've indicated here earlier, a representative from the SANDF, but if we could have that principled agreement so that we don't have to go through this process again. We don't have to, as in the SAPS cases, people do not have to go to court to assert what is clearly already been decided as their right. That was an entirely unavoidable delay. I think we also welcome, the change in heart or approach from the NPA with respect to releasing the details of the cases they are dealing with. As I mentioned in our previous interaction, the NPA is refused to release to us the list of cases that are being dealt with. And it seems now that there's been a change of heart and there's an acceptance that those details have to be discussed publicly. Again, this is not a request for any confidential details, not for the names of the people involved or the investigators, simply the details of the case. And can I also then echo the suggestion that where the decision has been made not to proceed with the case, and as per the report, there are 35 of those cases, it is important that the details for those decisions are also made public. We need to know not just that the cases will not proceed, but why will they not proceed? And I think the public has a right to know. Can I just say generally with respect to the FHR, we do not represent the families. The families are represented by their appointed legal representatives who have power of attorney in each of the cases we are dealing with. It is not a favor or goodwill on the part of the NPA to interact with those legal representatives. And while we are appreciative of the NPA's efforts to maintain contact with families, once families have legal representation, this is not a negotiable position. The NPA has an obligation to deal with those legal representatives and to deal with them directly and fairly. And there are a number of cases where I think the level of cooperation has been less than agreeable, but we will take those up. With respect to the constitutional damages case, I want to make clear that this is not about reparations. It has nothing to do with reparations. It has nothing to do with individual compensation for the family members involved. This is not a personal injury claim. Those family members who have brought this case are asking for resources to collectively support their search for truth and justice, not for money to be paid to them individually. So it's of no import at all that people who are participating in this case have received reparations. It's got nothing to do with reparations. It's an entirely different issue. There are a number, I think, without going into details, and again, I want to appreciate the effort that has gone into the NPA's report and where this progress has been made. But I want to make clear that, for example, it is not sufficient to say that the Cradock 4 case has now gone to an inquest. We've been dealing with the Cradock 4 case on behalf of the families since 2019. And it was entirely possible that a decision on prosecution should have been made many years ago, and that the NPA had sufficient documentation, and we've been a part of providing that documentation to be able to make that decision earlier. And it's the inquest, the fact that we have to have an inquest is a failure, because there should have been a prosecution when there was an opportunity to proceed. And the fact that those opportunities weren't taken, and that no effective reasons have been provided about why those decisions weren't taken. Again, we are not demanding, and the families are not demanding, that every case ends successfully, that every case ends in a prosecution and a conviction. That is absurd. We're simply asking that the processes be followed, and that where sufficient information is there, that the NPA act expeditiously to make a decision. And that, I think, is, when we talk about the PEPCO 3 case, the fact that it's now been set down for an inquest is, again, something of a failure. Again, the NPA had sufficient opportunity for a considerable amount of time where they had the evidence presented to them, and there was the ability to make a clear decision about whether to proceed or not. I think there are a number of factual errors in what the NPA has presented. They've indicated that there are cases, Saloji, Bambo, 00, those are not cases in which the FHR is involved. And so that appears to be an error. There are other issues which I think we'll raise separately and are contained in our submission. Let me just say, with respect to the Nsebeza report, while it's fine for the NPA to pick on those issues where the Nsebeza reported favorably about the efforts that have been made. And again, we are appreciative of the NPA's openness to revisit some of those structural questions. It's also clear that Advocate Nsebeza indicated that the progress was slow, and that and I'll quote you, without a clear plan and structure, the NPA must urgently demand the results, enforce accountability, and ensure full cooperation. There is no nice way to state this demand that needs to be made from the NPA. The NDPP must crack the whip. And I think we would, I think, with respect, differ with our colleagues from the NPA on the extent to which that whip has been cracked. I think I'll leave it there for the moment. We have provided both our colleagues, the NPA and the Portfolio Committee, with a detailed response. And we look forward to further engagement, both within the Portfolio Committee and with the NPA on the details of these issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Said. On behalf of FHR, I've got only two quick cross-cutting questions. The first question relates to the Cradock 4 inquest that is supposed to be resumed on the 2nd of June. An allegation goes that there is a possible postponement of that due to a number of factors. I heard the head of DPCI, General Beyer, did confirm issues relating to legal fees in respect only of the former SAP security branch members. We also don't have SANDF representatives here. So can we now all confirm that the Cradock 4 inquest will resume on the 2nd of June as planned? The last issue relates to have you received an application for exhumation and repatriations of the mortal remains of Robert Gesha? We're told they were done through the Chris District Municipality. Solely because I think his last daughter passed on some 3-4 months ago. So it's quite a sensitive environment as well. Have you received that? If the answer is in the affirmative, are we processing such an application? We'll start with the department. Deputy Minister of Justice, we welcome you in this meeting. Before the start, it would have been indicated to us that you are still in the cabinet committees. You will join. So we'll give you and the DG to respond on questions that are strictly directed to your department and are relevant to the department. DM?
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
DM Boshelo.
Wanted me to say, Dr.
DM Boshelo.
Mm.
I'm starting with the Deputy Minister of Justice.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, we'll come to you.
Chairperson, thank you very, very much, and greetings to all members of the committee. Thank you very much. As you indicated, I was in a cabinet committee, 1, and 2, my office was repeatedly given the time of 9:30. So I did actually log in at that time. But I would want, Chairperson, also just to thank my colleague and counterpart, Deputy Minister Dr. Boshielo, the NDPP, the DG of Justice and the team, General Dr. Libya, I think for very useful and detailed and informative presentations. I also wish to thank the members of the committee for both their penetrating questions, but also for very useful proposals, but also the recognition for the progress that has been made. Chairperson, for us, I think this is an absolutely vital and central matter. I think we only need to recall the preamble to our Constitution, which starts off with the very clear statement that we recognize the injustices of our past, and secondly, that we honor those who have suffered for justice and freedom in our land, and followed by a commitment that to heal the divisions of the past and to establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights. And I think if one goes back to look at the preamble of the Constitution, and that latter clause in particular, it suggests that healing the divisions of our past is a fundamental precondition for laying a foundation for building a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights. I think for me also very significantly was the judgment in the Cosas 4 matter, where Judge Dario Dosiu made the very bold and correct statement that there can be no time bar for crimes against humanity, and apartheid constituted a crime against humanity. Chairperson, I think that the presentations that we've received here today emphasize all aspects of what I would want to call the 4 R's: reparations, returns, repatriation, and responsibility, in the form of holding those who have perpetrated these crimes against humanity to account. Chairperson, I think it is, I think to say that it is regrettable is an understatement, that there were delays in this matter, both at the level of further inquests to establish the truth in terms of prosecuting those who should be held accountable, but also in the finalization of the regulations. I don't want to personalize this matter, but I know that in my first term as Deputy Minister of Justice from 2009 to 2013, the work on the regulations had already started. And therefore, it was a source of great disappointment and dismay for me to return to the department almost 15 years later to find that those regulations were still work in progress. But I do want to give the committee the assurance that Minister Kubai and I are absolutely committed to the expeditious finalization of those regulations. The necessary consultations are underway, and we hope that those regulations will be finalized and that the support, the much needed support to victims and to their families will then be forthcoming. I think the reports that have been given do indicate that there has been progress at the level of prosecutions, of repatriations and the return of remains, and also the establishment of a commission of inquiry to look into any allegations that there might have been political interference in the prosecution of any of these cases. I conclude by saying that we've taken note of the proposals by members of the committee in relation to issues of legal representation. I think our colleagues from the SAPS and the Department of Defense will elaborate further as it relates to their respective departments. And we also welcome the proposal by the Honourable Matafa for the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development to play a role in respect of the establishment of a coordinating mechanism. Chairperson, I think the members have raised very, very valid and correct questions, but I will resist the temptation to engage with some of them, because I think the other departments such as SAPS and the NPA and Justice will deal with them adequately and at length. But with that, we thank you and the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DM. DG, any specific issues on the justice-related issues?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thanks for the DM for the overview. I'll just ask DDG Said to deal with one matter that I thought was very specific and pertinent about the number of beneficiaries who have received the once-off payments, and just the explanation of the reason why the others have not been paid. DDG, with your permission, Chair.
DDG?
Thank you, Chairperson and DG. There were two. One was on the reparations and the one on housing, but we'll go straight directly. I'm sorry.
You have company now. You are alone.
Yeah, I've always had the company. You just didn't see them, Chairperson. And this is the director of the TRC unit, Ms. Mbadi.
Okay, proceed, DG.
Thank you, Chairperson. To respond to the question that speaks to the numbers that have been paid for individual reparations, yes, it's 17432 that has been paid. The 4244 that have not been paid, basically the reasons for that is that some of them have declined to receive the once-off reparations. The reason being an understanding that they were in the struggle, not for reparations. They understood the costs that they were engaged in. The other reason is that, yes, there were people that could not be traced. And the question also spoke of the road shows, which we have done, to say, where have we been doing the road shows? We've done about 54 road shows, and we've done this across the 9 provinces. If one were to just break them down, KZN, we've done about 12. And these road shows were mainly done for basic education and higher education reparations. For the individual reparations, the department had appointed a tracing agent to actually assist with locating the different beneficiaries or the TRC identified victims that were supposed to get this reparation. So in terms of the road shows, it's KZN. We've done around 12. Eastern Cape, around 6. If I were to give names, KZN, we've been in Ndwendwe, Richmond, Bambai, Newcastle, Eshowe, Empangeni, amongst others. Eastern Cape, we've been Danzane, we've been in Grahamstown, Duncan Village, amongst others. We've been in the Western Cape, we've done 5. If I were to give names there, Kailicha, Guguletu, Nyanga, amongst others. Limpopo, we've done about 6. Amongst others, we've been in Tzanini, we've been in Hamatlala, we've been in Phalaborwa. Gauteng, we've done about 4. We've been in Mamelodi, Boipatong, Sebokeng, amongst others. We've been in Mpumalanga, and in Mpumalanga it's 6. We've been to Kwaggasfontein, Kabokweni, amongst others. And then Free State, it's 9. We've been in Parys, Kroonstad, Welkom, amongst others. Northern Cape, we did 2. Khalishiwe and Kimberley. We've been in Northwest. We've done road shows in Taung, Mabuluka, amongst others. And those were intended for the basic education and the higher education reparation. And just to indicate that when we started this in 2015, we had around 315 applications for basic education then, and we had 318 for higher education. And if we are to go back to the presentation, the numbers have now grown. In terms of basic education, we are now sitting at 11,934 as a result of those road shows, and with higher education at 1,922. And that will be the response. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. Back to you, DG.
So please pause there. So will we attribute the fact that you are unspending in the president funds to the fact that there are people who are rejecting reparations?
Chairperson, I wouldn't say it's underspending. There are 3 regulations that haven't come into effect as yet, which is the housing, the medical, as well as community rehabilitation. And with respect to how the funds have to be spent from the President's Fund, it's very strict and according to these regulations. So monies are set aside for those regulations once they are in place. There isn't, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, the opportunity for discretion on how funds are spent from the President's Fund. So whatever has been set aside for the individual reparations is allocated and is ring-fenced for that purpose. Similarly for education and the exhumation. So there isn't an underspending, as it were. It's just all very clearly demarcated. I hope that helps in responding to that question.
Okay, are you done now?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go to SAPS now. DM Boshielo.
Thank you very much, Chair, and let me also greet DM Nell and others. I think others were here. I'm just, from our side, we're trying our best to do, and then to cooperate. I think we'll, like you said, as we have the SANDF on board, we'll be able to do much better. But let me give to Dr. Libya just to answer directly to some of the questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DM. Dr. Libya.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members. Starting with the question of the Honorable Breitenbach regarding the Craddock 4, as to the decision of that matter. Let me indicate that the SAPS has decided and they have paid. From the SAPS side is sorted out. But the matter obviously also require the South African National Defence Force that they deal with their former colleague, so that it will also then direct as to whether the hearing will take place in June or not. But from the SAPS side, that has been dealt with. Maybe I also go to the other possible delays in other places, like in the KZN. The SAPS has made a decision in some of these matters. In some, we know that we are just waiting for the final say from head office, whereas in the province, they shall have already made a decision. It will be finalized soon. On other matters, where a decision has been made to pay the individuals that have to be represented are the ones that choose specific lawyers whose scale of the cost is not the same as the one that was approved. But it's a matter of finalizing those differences, that while you choose specific lawyer other than the one that the state has already paid, who is to pay the differences, because the others are demanding a higher scale than the one that approval was done. But generally, these matters are being sorted. With the question coming from the Honorable Nomvalo regarding the distinction as to the matter that are under investigation, as to whether there are those that we are able to classify as deceased, and the matters that we are able to indicate that the individuals are available. In our investigation, indeed, we always consider that. Also in the report, one can observe that we indicate, even when we speak of possible suspect, we put in bracket that this one is deceased. And we also indicate where others are still available. So that distinction we are able to make in the investigation that we do. Coming from the Honorable Mothala, the question of destruction of the documents in 1995 under ministerial instruction. On that matter, we are not aware of that directive that instructed the destruction of the documents. We will try to get clarity on that one. We know that in 1995, the minister was already Minister Mofamadi. In the new dispensation, it is a matter that we shall have to check, or specifically what does that relate to. The question of the Honorable Matafa regarding the planning, the making available of the funds in our planning, yes, indeed, it's always a matter of legal services that whenever budgetary processes take place, there is generic consideration of the cost related to legal services, either the orders that we might be getting, or just in advance to prepare for any eventuality. So that is being taken care of. The question regarding the Honorable Klopper, the SAPS refusing, we are not refusing, it's just the matter of delay in some of the areas that I have hinted, some of the client choosing specific legal representative, not those that they shall have tried to source for them. So, but otherwise, generally, there is no refusal from the part of the police. The final one coming from the Honorable Chair, the question as to whether the case itself will resume on the
Hold on,
2nd
General
of June.
Bear. Honorable Mshala, please look out to your mic.
Oh, no, sorry, Chairperson. Thanks so much.
Sharp. Dr. Bear, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The last question from the Honorable Chair regarding the question as to whether the Eastern Cape matter, the CRADOC 4, will resume on the 2nd June. As I shall have indicated, the possibility is that if the South African National Defence Force has not yet sorted out the issue of legal cost, is possibly it may not proceed. But from the SAPS side, we have sorted out the legal issues. So that is how I can respond from the SAPS side. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members.
That's fair, Dr. Lebeya. Let's proceed now. NTPP and your team.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I'm going to first hand over to Advocate Mzinyati, the Acting Deputy National Director of the NPS, to call upon various colleagues in the NPA to deal with various aspects. Before we go to him, I was hoping that General Lebeya will deal with some of the questions. Just to be clear, the NPA does not have an investigative capacity. There are a number of questions that were raised by honorable members that talked to investigations and directed the questions specifically to the NPA. So even though the questions were directed to the NPA, I'd ask General Lebeya to please look at some of those so that the investigators can respond, particularly the one from Honorable Mshala that talked about what are the timeframes with regard to the investigation of the 195 cases and plans around that. So I would please ask the General, through you, Chair, of course, at the end, if possible, to deal with some of those issues. If I may proceed then, Chair, I'm going to call upon, and I will also call upon our Acting DDG, Head of Corporate Services, Ms. Makeke, to deal with some of the HR capacity and budget-related issues. But first to you, Advocate Mzinyati, if you could coordinate within the NPS. And anything that you'd like to add.
Thank you very much, NTPP. Good morning, Chair and members of the committee and everybody on the platform. Maybe if one can start with the CRADOC 4, NTPP and Chair, let me give over to Mr. Madolo, the DPP of the Eastern Cape, for him to give us some insights as to what the possibilities are for the CRADOC 4 inquest. Over to you, Mr. Madolo.
Thank you, Advocate Mzinyati. Morning, Chair, and morning, honorable members. I just want to confirm that on the 2nd, the CRADOC 4 inquest in all is going to proceed. There has been a general agreement that we're going to proceed, though there is no direction yet regarding the funding of SANDF. But we have contingency plans. We'll proceed at least for 10 days during June. Thank you. I think that is all I'm going to say.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Back to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair.
Sorry, Advocate Mzinyati, before we move off the CRADOC 4, to the DPP, there was some questions, in fact, comments by the Foundation for Human Rights that spoke about the fact that it's an inquest, but a decision could have been made earlier in this matter. If the DPP could deal with that, or whether we can come back to it later, but that's something else I think needs to be dealt with.
Are you able to respond to that, Mr. Madon?
Barry is I'm sorry. I thought it would be better for us to take this offline with FHR. We don't want to enter into a debate now as to what should have happened and what did not happen. We always engage with them. I think we should take that offline.
Chair, if we can proceed on the other issues in the meantime. Advocate Mzanyati.
Yes, thank you very much, NTPP. Then there was a question about the caliber or the types of prosecutors that we are appointing, especially those 9 vacancies that we're in the process of filling now. These positions, Chair, are at the level of senior state advocate. So the advert itself is structured at a senior level, and so far we are comfortable that the people we have had on contract, even those contracts that have elapsed, were appointed at senior state advocate level, and the progress that has been demonstrated in the presentation in the past 2.5 to 3 years by the contract prosecutors at least can serve as confirmation that sufficient experience is identified when we appoint these colleagues on contract. So the 9 that are being appointed now, I think that was a question by member Nomvalo, is that we are comfortable that we are appointing them at a senior level, and we hope, or maybe we're even sure, that they'll be able to discharge on their mandate. And then there was a question, Chair, about whether we do get adequate support from other stakeholders. The example was made of the Department of Public Works in order to assist them in crime scene reconstructions. I think the presentation itself did highlight that DPW is cooperative. We do not find especially DPW for purposes of crime scene reconstruction as a stumbling block. They are a cooperative stakeholder. The only problem is capacity. They don't have enough capacity to be available on all the instances where they are required. Of course, the other major stakeholder that we work with here, which is the DPCI, we've got very, very good cooperation both at a national level by the regional portfolio coordinators, as well as at a national level between Advocate Singh and the national coordinator of the DPCI in these matters, Colonel Nkuna. We want to believe that other stakeholders, especially from civil society, we also cooperate and have lines of communication with them. The very fact that this platform today was sparked by an intervention by Foundation for Human Rights, which is a critical stakeholder, it does confirm that, we do have open lines of interface with civil society, especially the Foundation for Human Rights, and another critical stakeholder, the Apartheid Victims Family Group, representing a sizable number, and they all attend our accountability sessions, and they even wrote a letter appreciating the value that they do get out of these accountability sessions that we do have from time to time, that Advocate Singh has reported upon. There was a question about how convinced are we about the success of the reopened inquests. Whilst one can never look at a crystal ball, Chair, and predict the outcome of a court process, but the mere fact that a decision is taken to apply for a reopening of an inquest if one was held, or an inquest to be held where none was ever instituted about apartheid victims, I can just confirm now that all the TRC-related inquests that have been opened and finalized have all been, well, I don't want to say successful, but police complicity has been proven, that these people neither committed suicide or died of natural causes. The complicity of the former South African police has been proven in all those inquests. Therefore, if a decision is made to apply for an inquest, we are convinced that it is a decision well taken, and we are convinced or hopeful of a successful outcome. Hence, we would have applied for the inquest in the first instance. Yeah, then the last question I had in my notebook, Chair, related to the possible postponement of the CREDOC 4 matter, but Mr. Madolo has responded to that. So those are the notes that I had in my notepad, Chairperson. I will just hand over briefly, Chair, NDPP, to Advocate Singh if there's anything that I may have overlooked before the NDPP can close.
NDPP?
If I may, Chair, yes, if Advocate Singh could come in and deal specifically with the issues relating to the consultations. I'm sorry, my camera is so dark, but the light here is not very good. The issues Honorable Nomvalo raised with regard to consultations with families and the kind of consultation, maybe you can give some more detail about that, but also on the issues where we take decisions not to proceed. Of course, it's part of our policy that we make our decisions, you know, when we do explain decisions, and particularly to families, even where there are decisions taken not to proceed. This matter was also raised by the foundation. So this is a very, very important aspect of our work, is keeping families informed all along the way. So if you could speak about those issues in particular, and yeah, any others that you may have picked up. Thank you, Chair, through you, Advocate Singh.
Okay, can you hear me?
There were some issues relating to backlogs and getting, you know, being able to put these inquests on the roll, whether there are any challenges with that. And that was, I think it was, I think Honorable Swart, or no, it was Honorable Matafa that was, that really, if you could deal with those issues as well, please.
Thank you, NDPP. The issue of families and liaising with families. Chair, the biggest or the marked difference between the NPA and DPCI dealing with TRC matters now is our ability to empathize with the families. The NDPP issued an internal memorandum in June of 2022 emphasizing that all families must be kept updated of all developments in the matter. This has been honed in at our accountability sessions, and all prosecutors and investigators are aware that they must update family members and victims of the families as to where the matter is. We encourage this because we believe in transparency and accountability. We do not want to be sitting in a situation where we take a decision and the family does not know the efforts that have been expended to ensure that all avenues have been exploited in order to try and get closure for the family. So this is done. It has to be done. And if it's not done, then we have a very open door policy where we say, well, that needs to be escalated to us. The issue of the decisions that are taken on every matter that is there, we ensure that all the decisions that are taken, the investigating officer is always going to file his investigative statement as to how he had dealt with the matter. When we take a matter to court, we want to be certain that there is going to be a different outcome. And we do that because we do the necessary preparation that is required to either enroll a matter in a criminal court or enroll the matter in an inquest court or to reopen an inquest. We cannot afford to take a matter that is half-baked. Please mind my English, but what happens is we victimize the families again, and we are not prepared to do that. All our investigations and all our decisions will be based on actual evidence that we have in our docket. The issue to deal with that of backlogs, we have not experienced backlogs on our matters. We do not know how it will transpire in the future. We even have, for instance, we have a division where the High Court roll was full and or it was, there were too many matters. And what the DPP did was we had the matter heard at the regional court. Evidence was led, accused was convicted and sentenced. It would have taken us far longer to do the matter on the High Court roll if we had waited for a date. So we do have measures. We are constantly thinking out of the box as how we can mediate on issues and how we can make things better and quicker so we do not have to go an extra long route. Then just one more issue that was asked about the posts. There's actually 19 permanent posts. When we are doing the interviews, we are very, very aware of the fact that these are TRC matters and TRC matters are sensitive. All people suffered, and we take that into account. And when we are appointing prosecutors, we are looking at passionate prosecutors, understanding the law and not afraid to take to make case law. We are not afraid of that. NDPP, I'm not certain if I've addressed everything. If I can just be given a moment.
I think whilst Advocate Singh is in the interest of time, she can check her notes and see if there's anything to come back. Chair, there are some of the issues that I would like to deal with. Firstly, on the issue of it was raised by Honorable Moshlala, the issue of let me just make sure I get this right in terms of, I think it was Honorable Moshlala who raised this, the issue of the repatriation of the remains. In the case of Mr. Robert Risha, his remains are in the UK, and there is an interdepartmental team that is actually led by the Departments of Arts and Culture, Sports, Arts and Culture. And so my understanding from the information that I've just received is that that this team is looking into, ensuring that his remains are repatriated, but it is being dealt with by an interdepartmental team, as I said, that's led by the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. The issue of the matters relating to Mr. de Kock, let me just, yes, there were some questions that Honorable Moshlala raised about this. In this particular case, most of de Kock's Vlakplaas members were either granted amnesty or were used as state witnesses in the case against Mr. de Kock in his trial. There are a handful of cases where Vlakplaas colleagues were refused amnesty, and these matters are still being investigated. With regard to the issue of mistrust with regard to the NPA, I want to emphasize, this was raised by Honorable Mushlala, also the fact that people say they have no information from the NPA, and we are now speaking to victims. I want to emphasize that it's not that we are now speaking to victims. We have been, as you heard from Advocate Singh, the directive went out in 2022, but even before that, we were engaging, but it was more on an ad hoc basis. But the directive was to ensure that this is done in every case across the country. So we take this very, very important aspect of keeping all of the family
point of order, Chair.
Of the victims.
On a point of order.
Can you hold on the MTP?
Sure, Chair.
Nampalo, what's the point of order?
Chair, in 2024, in a portfolio committee meeting, where the victims of the CRADOC 4 appeared, Advocate Shamila Batoyi was there when the victims were saying they are not updated by the NPA about these matters. So she must not come here and mislead the committee. She must concede to the weaknesses of the NPA so that we can be able to dissect the problem objectively and get amicable solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think this matter was part of their presentation that they are in consultation with the families. But Mr. Zaid raised something here when he was given an opportunity that the people who are actually consulted are the legal representatives, not the families. Maybe can you clarify that, NTPP as well?
Yes, Chair. And perhaps, Mr. Madolo can also come in because in the CRADOC 4 matter, he has been engaging in his region with, that is correct, where there are legal representatives, as our colleague Mr. Zaid mentioned, they would actually prefer that the NPA engages with the legal representatives. We actually would prefer to engage directly with families. But that is the position. So it's either with the families or with the legal representatives, depending on whether they are represented. On the CRADOC 4 matter, Advocate Mr. Modolo can certainly talk about keeping victims updated.
You mean in some instances, you do communicate with families. In some instances, you communicate with the legal representations.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. That is the case, Chair. Chair, then dealing with the issue of let me look through my notes, Chair. So that's they aren't many. I just want to make sure I've covered all of the questions. Look, we have in fact accepted and acknowledged that there has been slow progress of these matters over many, many years, and that a lot should have been done before this. The issue of political interference in these matters, we'll be aware that this will be the subject of the Commission of Inquiry, and the President will finalize terms of reference with regard to the Commission to look into that aspect in particular. I should say that in the papers that in this particular application, the relief sought was that it be restricted until 2019. But my understanding is that this may well be over the entire period up until today. But sorry, not 2019, 2017. So an acknowledgement that it was before 2017 that most of the, if not all of the issues and allegations of interference, etc., took place. But of course, it's up to the President to decide on the temporal scope of any commission of inquiry. So those matters will certainly be dealt with during that process. On the issue of support that's been dealt with, I think, as I've said, I agree. There were many, many delays that could have been avoided. But in the past 5 years, we have certainly been doing everything that we can to ensure that things move as fast as we can. These are very, very complicated matters. And Advocate Singh did give some indication of what are some of the challenges that we are facing in order to deal with these matters. And so, of course, we would like them. We understand that suspects are dying, families are dying, and it's important that families at least try to get some level of closure before this. But the various challenges means that cases actually are very complicated, and we're not able to get the evidence that we need as quickly as possible in order to make sure that these cases move faster. But rest assured, we are really trying to do everything we can under very, very complicated circumstances. Whilst I go through my notes, just to make sure we've covered everything, I think the one issue that Honorable Breitenbach raised was, what was the need for senior counsel's opinion? And it's as if we are basically trying to validate what we are doing. That was not the reason why Advocate Msebeze was engaged to look into whether the measures that we put in place were adequate. It was because of Rodriguez's judgment that the NPA decided that this is the best way of addressing those issues. And so Advocate Msebeze was engaged because of that aspect. I think I'm going to call upon Ms. Makeke to deal with some of the HR-related issues, and then I will just sweep up if there's anything outstanding. Ms. Makeke, can you please deal with some of the issues, also budget?
Thank you, NDPP. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Yes. NDPP, good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson and members of the committee. Thank you for this opportunity once again. I think Advocate Mzinyati covered partially the question around the capacity issue with the advertisement and the level. But in terms of the contracts that are expiring, we, in the meantime, have an extension of a year for all the contracts. So there will not be a problem in continuing with the contracts while we are sorting out the final appointments. And in terms of budget, there are no, currently, we don't know what will happen after tomorrow's budget, but as things stand now, there are no issues that affect budget related to this project and making sure that the people that are appointed continue with the work. So I'm not aware if there's any particular issue that relates to budget, but in terms of making sure that this capacity continues, there is budget to support that. Thank you, NDPP. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Bulalwa. Chair, there was a question from Honorable Mashlala about whether the NPA will cooperate fully with the Commission of Inquiry. Yes, of course, we commit to cooperating absolutely fully, giving the Commission any information, records, that the NPA has in its possession. We will make sure that all of that is made available to the Commission. There was Honorable Matafa, I think, dealt with some of the fact that we should have follow-ups, that speed drops. I want to give him the assurance that we are doing everything possible to ensure that we don't take the foot off the pedal in these matters. Because of all of the reasons we've mentioned, we've got to try to ensure that we get these cases to finalization as soon as possible. On the issue of a dedicated TRC court, I think it's something that perhaps the department needs to consider. But as you heard from Advocate Singh, we haven't really had a challenge with being able to get the inquests or the cases onto the roll to deal with these matters. We've dealt with cooperation from other departments. Chair, I think we have dealt with this, and we certainly commit to speaking more to the FHR at various levels. There's constant engagement with the FHR. I would still like to engage, and I'm happy to have a conversation with Zaid himself to fully understand what are still some of the concerns that they have regarding some of the issues, and we can deal with that bilaterally. We have received a response from them, and we will look at responding to that as soon as possible. We received that this morning. As Advocate Mzanyati said, that there are a number of other entities that are representing victims, one of them being the apartheid era victims families group that he mentioned. And we are dealing very, very closely there with Mr. Kaji. And he did in a letter mention that they really appreciated the NPA's interaction with them, and particularly that they have direct interaction with the NPA prosecutors and the SAPS DPCI investigators nationally with regard to matters that they have in respect of post-TRC investigations and prosecutions. And his comment was that this has been unprecedented in the history of the NPA on post-TRC matters since 2003. I hope it just gives some indication, and that we are really trying to do everything possible to engage with victims and deal with these matters expeditiously. Chair, I think I've dealt with all the matters. Hopefully, we have dealt with them. If there's anything outstanding, we're happy to be reminded, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DPP. Legal aid, do you think there are issues directed to you?
Nothing much, Honorable Chair. It was just a comment that we need to ensure that we bring quality legal practitioners. I just want to assure the committee, Honorable Chair, that one of the legal practitioners that will be representing the members of the CREDOC 4 is Advocate Tembeka Ngaitobi. That shows how seriously we take this matter, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Namasisi. Colleagues, I think we've covered a greater part of our meeting today, and I can confidently say that we have actually achieved the actual intention of why we called this meeting. As members have said already, that
I think you are about to wrap up. Can we follow up before you can come?
You have a follow-up?
Yeah, I've got a follow-up question.
Okay, bring it.
No, my question is NPA. You were speaking about budget issues here. And then I just want to ask, in your wish list, we are going to budget now. The minister will be tabling the budget speech. Afterwards, we have to ensure that all departments are covered in terms of the budget. What is in your wish list? That is the question that I want to ask. And lastly, I just want to frame a bit, Chairperson. It is with regards to the issue of Twetwe. I saw a statement being published by the National Prosecuting Authority. The heading of the statement and what is in the body of the statement is very, there's ambiguity there. So, NDPP, can you please tell us who's approving your statement, because they are causing very serious confusion on the ground. The statement that says that you are no longer going to prosecute anyone on the matter of Matatiele. And then when you go to the body of the statement, it says that you have received the document. The document is still with the DPP for consideration, or either NPA, I think so, for consideration. So that statement, as we were even watching on TVs and everywhere, everyone was confused whether the matter is being postponed. I mean, whether the matter is under reconsideration, or whether the matter is being, there's no matter anymore. The matter is now being closed. Please tell us what is happening, and then who is approving these ambiguous statements from NPA. Thank you so much, Chair.
NDPP, quick take us on that.
Yes, Chair, I can take you on that. We will certainly look at improving our statements so that there's no ambiguity about it, to the extent that this may have caused some confusion. And Mr. Madolo is on the platform. This is another matter in his jurisdiction. But what I can say, and he can add if I don't cover it adequately, is that the docket was submitted last November to the DPP's office. It was declined to prosecute There was the DPP then had the docket reviewed, that decision reviewed by colleagues in the DPP's office, which confirmed the decision, but that 2 days before we made that statement, the DPP had received the docket again. So that is the current position. Thank you, Chair.
The issue of budgeting.
I will ask Ms. Makeke to deal with that, Bulelwa.
Thank you, NDPP. Thank you, Chairperson. This is a very, if wishes were horses, they often say. We would have a long wish list for budget, but most importantly, the issue that has been raised previously is, money that is already available that is brought onto Kara by the asset forfeiture unit. But as things stand now, the asset forfeiture unit has to stand in line as well and bid for access to those funds. So I think that is one of the biggest issues that we've also raised, that there should be a budget that's made specifically for the asset forfeiture unit as the unit that actually makes sure that these proceeds from crime are actually recovered and they deposit into the Kara fund. But most importantly, our wish list is one thing, but we are very firmly aware of the budget constraints. And as I said, with the budget speech coming tomorrow again, that will also really depend on what is available in the basket. So the issue of the financial and operational independence of the NPA has been discussed with, and I know that the minister has some views. That's an issue and a discussion, but that would also be another wish list if everything would work out. But we don't know at this point how far that discussion will go. I don't know if you have any additions, NDPP, in terms of specifically around this project on TRC.
No, thank you, Bulelwa. Thank you, Chair. Those are the responses.
Thank you very much, NDPP. So as I was saying, let everyone here in this meeting commit to what they've said they are going to do. For us to expeditiously attend to all the issues that which even the foundation is complaining about, including the issue of the longevity of these matters, and taking note of the fact that the more they take long, the more the relevant evidence is destroyed, the more the possible persons of interest die due to age and everything else. So if we can commit into expeditiously attend to these matters, we can easily make an impact, a positive impact in terms of accelerating all the TRC matters that are still on top of our desks. Look, we welcome the fact that both the NPA and the legal aid did come to rescue to attend to issues regarding legal representations of particularly the victims. And we welcome the fact that in your team of prosecutors, you have prioritized senior state advocates as experienced and well-qualified individuals to be part of these endeavors to bring justice for those families who would have suffered during apartheid. I think you must just be very fast and quick in terms of filling those vacancies that that would have arisen up in your team, because the more you delay them, the more the other work they were supposed to do is delayed as well. So if you can attend to that quickly, we know where sometimes human rights issues take their own process, but if you can just have a devoted time frame in ensuring that those vacancies are quickly filled. Given the background that we all complain about, the longevity, the nature of the issues and stuff. The issue of legal costs, I think, we welcome and appreciate from the South African Police Service the fact that you came and committed on your own part, because it would have been a concern from the committee, even in the past meetings, that if we have got legal precedents in issues relating to legal fees, why do we then have to struggle for inquest to proceed on the basis of legal fees and stuff? Because the court has pronounced itself, and there is no higher court in terms of the hierarchy of courts that is pronounced different from what the High Court has said. So it would have been a quite a concern from our side that what is it that is a problem here? If the matter was ventilated in a credible court and competent court of law, and the court pronounced itself, then why are we still here? So welcome the fact that DM and Dr. Libeya, you commit on attending to all the matters relating to legal fees, because it is common cause that there are inquests who would have been postponed solely on the basis of legal fees for the persons of interest who were part of the former South African police. So we take note. We take note of the absence of the South African Defence Force. As we're speaking, members here in this meeting, we are already developing a letter to be returned to the Minister of Defence, Honorable Motshekga, to express our disappointment on their absence in this meeting without just cause, when we would have alerted them of this kind of a meeting a long time ago. If you'll remember, members would have shifted even this meeting when it was supposed to have said, I think, a week or 2 weeks ago. So we're going to express our disappointment on the South African National Defence Team. We are also going to outline to them the impact of their absence here. Because the impact of their absence here actually means that we may have a possible drag in the eminent Craddock 4 arrangement, because I think there is one person of interest there who's a former member of the South African Defence Force. So we are going to expressly request them that they must actually give us a written detailed report on how are they planning to fund the legal fees for those persons of interest, so that we don't face the same problems every now and then when some of the things would have been attended to expeditiously. There's an issue which I think is correct, that we need to extend our operations, particularly in respect of what we call the judicial processes, the delays and stuff. Because there are matters that are in the competence of the High Court. So I think the Office of the Chief Justice, we're going to extend our invitation to them. I think, members, for now, we have come to the end of our meeting, and we welcome and appreciate the positive impact and the positive progress reports that we would have received today. And we wish to say to all the parties involved that if we work together and we work in ensuring that these matters are accepted.
Chairperson?
Wait, Honorable Mhlala.
I can see that closing. I just want to...
Wait, Honorable Mhlala, I'm going to come to you. Wait.
Okay.
So if we are to attend to these matters, stick to our time frames, stick to our commitments, we'll be able, at least before the end of the year 2025, would have at least made a serious positive impact in terms of accelerating this work. And of course, there are new challenges. it's well known that there are going to be challenges, new challenges as we go forward, but I think we need to confront them as a team so that you are able to wipe them off with immediate effect so that we don't experience further delays. Our conscience is with those who are still looking for justice, for there are people who would have been assassinated and murdered by the then apartheid regime. Of course, we all agree that those families must actually get their own closure. And for them to get closure, there needs to be justice for the victims. So we can do this if we commit into our plans and our time frames. Of course, some of the issues would relate to resource arrangements, but immediately those issues must be attended to. Honorable Mhlala, you want to raise something?
No, I've written something on the chats to NDPP. We are really looking for her email address. We want to send a letter to her attention, but I can see she is not responding. Can she please do that? Or if possible, can she give the email address to the secretary of the portfolio committee so that I can get the email address from that space? The other thing is the issue of water and sanitation. There's too many sewage spilling all over the country, more especially in the Western Cape, I've noticed lately. Is it possible as you write these letters, you also write the letter to the Department of Water and Sanitation to come before the portfolio committee, because these issues are issues that are actually causing injustices of the people, because people get sick of these things. Sewage going inside their houses across the country, as I'm saying. Can you please do that if possible, Chairperson, for them to come and give us a report of what is happening in the country, and when will they resolve this matter so that we know that our people are safe outside there? Thank you.
The first issue, NTPP, please share your email address with the committee secretary to...
Will do, Chair.
Yes. The second issue, the Parliament has established a portfolio committee on water and sanitation that actually oversights that department in terms of its operations, service delivery programs, spending of the budget and stuff. So I think maybe what we can advise is that maybe we extend that word to the chairperson of the portfolio committee on water and sanitation, but also we shall remember that the rules allow us to attend any meeting of any portfolio committee. So maybe through the AZ list that Parliament issues every week, would be able therefore to know that the water and sanitation portfolio committee will be sitting on this day. Then those who have an interest can attend that as they are allowed by the rules. Thank you very much, members. Thank you very much, colleagues from SAPS, Legal Aid, NPA, and the Department of Justice. Thank you very much to the Foundation for Human Rights for constantly keeping us on our toes in ensuring that this justice is served to these affected families. Thank you very much, colleagues. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you very, very much, Chairperson and members.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chairperson and honorable members.
Thank you very much, Chair and honorable members.
Yeah.